Nothing for you.
Hey, folks, how's it going?
Are you
Good
ready to rock?
evening to all you folks. Hope you're doing fantastic. There we go. Those sound commands may or may not have been the best idea in the world, but welcome. Hope you're all doing fantastic. We're back in Middle Earth, and decided to do a fun, playful variation of Lord of the Rings there with our title. We're doing a Lord of the Wings flight in Middle Earth from here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, the capital of New Zealand, to Dunedin, pretty close to the southern tip of the southern island
Trusting every
of
aspect of
New
our
Zealand.
lives to a giant computer was the smartest thing
But
we ever did.
I hope you're all doing fantastic. Lokestar, Micah Vabora, Hazaru, who helpfully gave us a countdown to the new release of the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, we're all much looking forward to that for sure. Hazaru has it down to the minute exactly, so that's pretty awesome. And Rice Cooker 2000. Anybody else in chat? Sergio D, welcome. Hope you're all doing fantastic. Nicholas Gack, welcome to you as well. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Okay, so this is Flightbeam's awesome Wellington scenery. Say goodbye to the AI traffic there. I'm going to get rid of that so that I can hop on VATSIM, and that way it sounds like we might have a couple of folks, or at least Micah, joining us on a group flight from Wellington to Dunedin on VATSIM. So I'm just going to hop on VATSIM here real quick. Just give me a second, and then I'll get back to chat. Call sign is in use apparently, so we're just going to go with New Zealand 321 in that case. No problem. And hopefully we didn't spawn on top of someone. That would suck. All right. Okay, so we just hopped...
All systems have been alerted to your presence, sir.
Just hopped on VATSIM. All right, great, Micah. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put in my flight plan here in VATSIM. We're going from NZWN, Wellington, to NZDN, Dunedin. Alternate is Invercargill, if you need it. Probably won't need it. And then departure time, let's say about 20 minutes from now. So 03:35, let's say. Time en route, just about an hour exactly, actually, and 2 hours and 30 minutes of fuel on board. Cruising flight level of 340, and we're going to do the, whoops, 1 second here. What is our route going to be today? Just going to pull that up, had that saved somewhere. Micah, I'm New Zealand 321. Somebody else is already using the New Zealand 691 call sign that I was initially planning on using. So, route of flight today is the Polax 5 Romeo departure. And I'm going to walk you through this in a second. And the MIPAK 3 Bravo arrival into Dunedin. Okay, fantastic. And I'll show you the flight plan here in just a second, once I've got the flight plan filed away on VATSIM, so I don't have to deal with that anymore. And it doesn't look like any controllers online, unfortunately, so it's just going to be us today. All right. Lokestar, yes, Dunedin. So I'm going to show you where that is on the map here in a second. Let me just pull this up here real quick, and I'll talk you through what this looks like. Okay, just going to pull up... where is that? The Chrome window. There. So hopefully this is showing. So New Zealand, for those of you who may or may not know, there's a North Island and a South Island, obviously. Wellington, which happens to be the capital of New Zealand, is on the very southern tip of, or close to southern tip of the North Island, New Zealand. And Wellington, as I mentioned, is the capital of New Zealand. It was really interesting. I did one of my first videos on my channel, one of my first full flight videos, was a flight from Wellington to Queenstown. And for some reason, there was some gentleman from Australia who decided to comment on that video saying, "You're wrong. Wellington is not the capital of New Zealand. Auckland is." And I was like, holy cow, this person's from Australia and apparently thinks that I didn't do my homework and thinks that Auckland is the capital of New Zealand. But no, Wellington is the capital of New Zealand as far as I know. So anyway, we're doing the Polax 5 Romeo departure over to SABDA via a whole bunch of airways here down to MESIX. And it looks like the winds are calm at Dunedin. Dunedin is pretty close to the southern tip of the South Island of New Zealand. Invercargill is... at the southern tip there, basically, but close to the southern tip there, much further south. But the winds are calm at Dunedin for the most part, last time I checked at least. So we're going to expect the ILS 21 and the MIPAK 3 Bravo arrival into Dunedin. So that is going to be our plan. And I'm already on VATSIM, so I guess I'm going to be flying with Micah. And Lokestar, if you'd like to join, you're more than welcome to as well. So anybody that wants to join in on a group flight in VATSIM is more than welcome to. Okay, so that's what our flight plan looks like. Let's go ahead and start doing all the things we need to do to get going here. All right, so got our load sheet in here. Let's go ahead and request our performance data. Actually, 1 second here. Let's make sure we got our zero fuel weight CG in. 56.2 and 32.9, that's fantastic. Let's go to our ATSU menu here. I'm just going to borrow my co-pilot's FMC, I'm sure she doesn't mind. NZWN, winds are out of the north today, so we're departing off of runway 34. Packs off for departure. Winds are blowing out of the north, 360 at 16, QNH is 1015, and our temperature is 14. This is in the Southern Hemisphere, obviously, so it's wintertime in New Zealand. And
Hey guys, all packs are on
we'll do a
board.
flaps
Are
2
we cleared to
takeoff.
close?
Go for it. Okay, thanks, it'll be a short taxi.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
Okay, and soon as the co-pilot is done using the FMC there, I'm going to go back into it. Let's go to boarding. Okay, not boarding, sorry. Actually, I wanted to go to perf request. There we go. So that I can request the performance numbers. Okay, config 2 takeoff, 32.1 on the Mach 2, and estimated takeoff weight, 61.2. Lokestar is saying that's almost next into Christchurch. No, Lokestar, no worries at all. It's all good. You gotta wake up at 2 in the morning? Why? That's crazy. That's crazy early. Why would you need to wake up that early there, Lokestar? Are you traveling anywhere? Do you have an early morning flight or something like that? Okay, so here we go. Got all that in. So I'm just gonna wait on the performance numbers to come in, and then we'll go ahead and initiate the takeoff page here. Okay, so we're just going to wait on that to come in. And this, of course, is the New Zealand All Blacks livery, one of my absolute favorite liveries for Air New Zealand. Just think it looks absolutely fantastic. There's very, very few, commercial airliner-sized airplanes in the world that sport all black liveries, but Air New Zealand has, I think, at least 2 of these. So they've got the A320, obviously. I think if I remember, yeah, the identifier, I guess, for the airplane, or the registration code for the airplane is right there, right? That sports the black liveries, Zulu, Kilo, Oscar, Alpha, Bravo. And then they've got the 777-300ER as well, I think, that sports the All Blacks livery, which is pretty cool. The All Blacks livery looks absolutely fantastic on the 777 as well. Okay. Oops, 1 second here. Just waiting on the performance numbers to come in. There they are. Okay, so we just got the performance numbers in. Let's go ahead and put that stuff in here. It's a flaps 1 takeoff. Actually, 1 second. Flex temp of 47, it looks like. And flaps 2 for takeoff, actually, and down 0.8 on the trim. So let me get that in. Okay, down 0.8 on the trim, and actually, toga required. Never mind. Let's go ahead and remove that. Toga required for takeoff today. Okay, V1 121. Rotate 125. I'm a little surprised, actually, because we had some pretty high winds, so a little surprised that toga is required, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, 121, 125, 130, and of course I'm going to initiate all this up top as well in the FS2 crew menu here. So takeoff config 2, flex temp of no flags takeoff today. It's going to be a toga power takeoff. 121 V1, rotate of 125, and V2 of 130. Okay, there we go. Got all that in. Let's go ahead and do our departure brief here, and we'll get going shortly. All right, let me catch up on chat here real quick. Micah says you're rocking the Fern livery in the A321neo. Awesome there, Micah. Lokestar says you're going to drive your brother to the airport. He's going to Florida. Awesome, Lokestar. Super cool. Hope he stays safe out there, though. Blooms 211212 says, welcome, first of all. You say a couple of your ATRs also have the black livery. Awesome, Blooms. That's right. Yeah, I did forget about that. Now, I'm curious what the system is like in New Zealand. Does Air New Zealand own the ATRs as well? Because here in the States, typically, right, you can have a mainline carrier like United or Delta or whoever, right? They typically tend to fly, bigger jets like 737s, A320s, and obviously much bigger jets than that. And then they have a bunch of feeder carriers, like regional airlines that operate smaller jets and smaller turboprops on their behalf. I'm kind of curious if it's a similar system in New Zealand as well, or if Air New Zealand actually operates those ATRs that you see back there themselves, or if it's some kind of regional carrier or a feeder carrier. Just kind of curious. Okay, let's go ahead and do our departure brief here. We'll get going soon. Big Smoke, welcome on board. Big Smoke, we have done Queenstown a couple of times, actually. We've done it once in a full flight video on this channel. We've also done a live stream featuring the approach into Queenstown. So if you look at the Boarding Now playlist on my channel, somewhere in there, there is the live stream that we did flying into Queenstown. So we're all Queenstown out here, I think, at least in prepared. We might do a Queenstown-oriented stream once we've got not P3D, but the new Microsoft Flight Simulator up and running with some good quality add-ons. Anyway, let's go ahead and do our departure brief here. All right. Are you ready for the departure brief?
Ready.
Okay, this is going to be a standard left seat takeoff with full toga power, and flaps config 2 for takeoff. We speeds 121, 125, 130, and we're going to be departing off of runway 34 today. And the weather at Wellington, let's go ahead and pull this up here real quick. Okay, the winds are out of the north today, 36015 knots. Visibility greater than 10 kilometers. Clouds scattered at 3400. Temperature 15, dew point 09, and QNH is 1015. And Kyle Longley, hey yourself, welcome on board. I'm going to catch up with chat here as soon as I've done our departure briefing. Kyle, indeed I have. So I actually have a video in X-Plane on my channel featuring the expressway visual approach into LaGuardia. That's a fun one for sure. And we do have to do a live stream featuring that at some point soon. Okay, give me 1 second here to pull up my Chrome window. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our taxi route. It's very, very straightforward. So we're located at gate 15 here at the eastern apron. We're going to push back onto the taxi lane there and then taxi via Bravo 7 or Bravo 8 to hang a left on Alpha and then via Alpha to hold short of 34 at Alpha 11. And during the departure, for any malfunctions before V1, such as engine failure, fire, loss of control, aircraft unsafe to fly, I'm going to call stop to recheck the takeoff. Brake, exit off the runway if able, and advise ATC. Any malfunctions after V1, we're going to continue the takeoff and treat it as an in-flight emergency. I'm going to handle the controls and advise ATC, and you back me up with the ECAM memo action items. Pending that, we're going to be departing via the Polax 5 Romeo RNP departure today. Off of runway 34, procedure is to track on a 340-degree track via Laxiv above 1100 to Polax above 3000. Then we'll hang a left to direct to Larox onto Jonah. Maximum speed 250 knots until the turn is complete. Then a track 185 from Jonah onto SABDA. At that point, we'll be off the SID. This SID does require a minimum net climb gradient of 6.8% up to 3,000 feet. And transition altitude is 13,000 here. Required navigation performance of 0.2 to Polax, then RNAV 1. Use Wellington QNH only and contact Wellington approach as soon as practicable prior to 1500 or as instructed. Approved operators to request Polax 5 Romeo prior to clearance delivery. No ATC online today, it looks like, so I think we're on our own. Okay, special considerations. We do have the winds blowing right down the runway, but we can expect probably a little bit of turbulence during the initial climb out. But other than that, I think we're all good. So that's our departure brief. Let's go ahead and hide away the Chrome window there. Any questions? Any questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
On auto.
Adheres.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
5.1 tons.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Barrel ref.
QNH 1015 set.
1015. Set. Down to the line.
Okay, down to the line. Before I go any further, let me very quickly catch up on chat here. Shipwreck, welcome to you, Shipwreck. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Kyle Longley says you should try a circle to land 3-3 at Aspen in the 717 is totally legal. Maybe not at the 717, but I'm going to try and approach 3.3 actually at Aspen. So Kyle, I'm actually less interested in the circle to land 3.3 at Aspen than in a much more interesting visual approach that I found at Aspen. So there's actually, so I'm sure we've all heard of the Roaring Fork visual to 1.5 at Aspen? Yeah, the Roaring Fork visual at Aspen. But there's actually another visual approach called the Hunter Creek visual approach at Aspen as well, and that's the visual approach to runway 33 at Aspen. So that's something I want to do at some point in the very near future, either using the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I may or may not have actually tried that approach already in the beta that I have, but that's the one that I want to try at Aspen for sure at some point in the future. Blomes1212 says Air New Zealand recently took hold of the IDARA-8 fleet from Air Nelson Mount Cook Airlines, so it was similar. Okay, that makes sense, but it sounds like they took over there. Okay, that's pretty cool. Lokestar says there's also Lord of the Rings livery in the 777-300ER. I'm so used to saying Lord of the Wings now, given that's our stream title, right? But yeah, I have seen that. I have seen the Hobbit-themed liveries as well, right? The one with the dragon on it, that's super cool as well. Shipwreck says you like these evening streams. Absolutely, Shipwreck. They actually fit a bit better with my schedule, to be honest with you. To be honest, I'm much more relaxed when I'm doing these evening streams because I don't have other things to run to. You know, the only thing I have to do after this is possibly some things around the house, you know, some social stuff, and getting sleep, of course. So these are much more relaxed for me as well. Kyle Longley says the NDA. That's not true, Kyle. The NDA applies to whoever signed the NDA. The people who you see, nobody's streaming Microsoft Flight Simulator yet, but the people who you see making videos on it, they've gotten special, unique approval from Microsoft to create those videos. So essentially my understanding is they've gotten the equivalent of a press copy. Yeah, so actually they've gotten, that's exactly what it is. They've gotten press copies of the Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's still a beta, but it's a press copy, so it's uniquely tied to them. And it doesn't have the you know, the watermark that everybody else who's beta testing the Microsoft Flight Simulator has. So that's the difference there. And exactly right there, Micah. Okay, we probably should get pushing back here so we can get going shortly, or as quickly as possible. Still nobody online, unfortunately. So let me go ahead and make sure I'm tuned into Unicom there, 122.8. And let's go ahead and request our pushback. Prepare for pushback and departure. Let's get the beacon on. Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Closed. Beacon.
On.
Thrust levers.
Idle.
Parking brake.
On.
Before start, checklist complete.
Cabin crew, arm slides, and cross-check. Okay. Micah says you were at the other concourse. Awesome, Micah. Micah, are you flying in Prepared or are you flying in X-Plane 11? I'm assuming X-Plane 11. If you're flying in Airbus, right? Okay, we've got the Super Tug today for some reason, so that's what we have. Alright. You're in X-Plane. Awesome, Micah. By the way, Lokestar, if you're still on, we need to discuss... use autosave quick edit pushback. Yes, please.
Check completed. Bypass pin inserted. Release parking brakes.
Okay, parking brake released. Ignition mode selector or engine mode selector to ignition/start. There they go. They're in green. Let's go ahead and start up the engines here. We'll start up engine 2 first. Starting engine 2.
Check.
Okay, engine 2 starting up there. These are the IAE engines, of course, on the Air New Zealand Airbus fleet. So these are going to take a bit longer to start up. And let's hop back in the cabin here so that we can, or the flight deck here, so we can listen. We can listen to the Middle Earth safety briefing. This is one of my favorite safety briefings from any airline.
I'm here to to guide you on your journey, so cease your rebel browsing and listen very carefully, and obey all crew member instructions and all illuminated signs. If the seatbelt sign were to illuminate, return to your seat right away. Make sure all valuables at your feet are pushed under the seat in front of you.
And fasten your seatbelt low across your hips. Although we recommend you keep your
If you haven't watched the video of this safety briefing, good start on number 2. Let's go to startup number 1. If you haven't watched the video of this, it's available on YouTube, by the way.
It's precious to beyond measure. So if an oxygen mask should drop down from above, pull down on the
Okay, starting up number 1. Starting engine 1.
Set parking brakes.
For a secure fit.
Starting engine 1.
The alarm if the bag doesn't inflate. There's plenty of
Okay,
oxygen
engine 1 being started up there.
If you have halflings or young ones, secure your own mask before helping with theirs.
There's N2.
Brace yourself on the seat in front of you. I myself prefer the more compact method. Put your hands on your head.
N1 coming up. There's fuel flow, EGT. Awesome.
Unlocking gear.
Had a light off there. Sabario, welcome on board.
Business Premier, sit upright, rest your hands
Tow
on your
truck
thighs,
disconnected.
and keep your feet
Bypass
firmly
pin
on the
removed.
floor.
Life jackets are easily put on while seated. Just rip open the pouch, slip it over your head, clip the waistbands together, and tighten.
Sabario,
It's located under your seat. If you're seated in a sky
if you've got things to say, there's better ways to say it where you can be a bit more mature. I am not from New Zealand. I don't know how to pronounce that, but if you've got things to say it in a better way, or you can go find someplace else to spend your evening or wherever in the world you're from. The time wherever in the world it is you're from, you can go find someplace else to spend your time, rather than waste it on harassing people doing streams here.
Life jackets for our littlest people.
Kyle Longley was asking, what was the hardest part of getting your PPL in terms of actually flying? Boy, that's a great question there, Kyle Longley. Let me think about that, and I'll get back to it. Let me think about that. I'm not sure. That's a tough question, because it's been a while since I've gotten my license. I need to think about that, actually. I'm not entirely sure right now. It doesn't come to me off the top of my head. Blomes 1212 was saying you found the hardest thing to be the forced landing practice, to be honest. Blomes, I'm guessing, Blomes, out of curiosity, when you mentioned Air New Zealand earlier, you said something, I think you said our ATRs or something like that. Do you perchance, are you a professional pilot perchance in this part of the world? Yeah, Bloom. So that's a good answer though. The forced landing practice. So that can certainly be challenging, right? Because unlike landing at your home airfield, right, or airfields that you're familiar with, where you know exactly what the elevation of the field is that you're landing at, when you're doing forced landing practice, you know, you're basing things off of angles. If you're a glider pilot, it really kind of helps when you're doing forced landing practice, because you know, you're very good at judging angles if you're a glider pilot.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, it looks like a good start at number 1 as well. Let's move the engine mode selector back to normal. And let's go ahead and turn off the APU bleed and the APU master there. Blomes is saying you're an instructor in New Zealand. Awesome, Blomes. That's fantastic. Yeah, beautiful country to be flying in for sure. One of the things I always wanted to do was travel to New Zealand because in addition to being a powered pilot, you know, and I'm just a weekend warrior, private pilot in real life here in the States, but I'm also a glider pilot. I've been flying gliders for about 4 years now. I've been flying powered airplanes for about 15 years, but all recreational private pilot type flying. But one of the things I really wanted to do at some point in my life, it's on my bucket list to travel to New Zealand and do some sailplane flying. But beautiful, beautiful country to be flying in for sure. In fact, if you have some time after this flight, we might actually do a little bit of GA flying like we did in our last stream. We might do a little bit of GA flying in Milford Sound, or we might do a poll once again and decide between either GA flying in Milford Sound or or something else, like a soaring flight in Condor or something. Anyway, looks like a good start. Let's go ahead and do the after start checklist here. After start check. After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Off.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
32% set.
Rudder trim.
0.
After start checklist complete.
Okay, after start checklist complete. Alright, and looks like we're clear, right? Yeah, clear left side.
Clear right side. Check.
Okay, we'll start taxiing out here, and we'll get going. Wellington traffic, New Zealand 321, taxiing via Alpha to hold short of runway 34, Wellington. Okay, parking brake released. Let's get going here.
Traffic, New Zealand 691, taxi runway 34 for departure, Wellington.
Okay. Kyle Longley was saying you've flown like 4 times now, but he was struggling with the landings. You kept settling it down hard, too hard, because the Warrior likes to float like a balloon. Yeah, so I actually learned to fly in a Warrior. Yeah, totally, especially with the yeah, the wings in the Warrior, right? So it's a low-wing airplane as well. The wings, at least the newer Warriors, right? Not the old ones with the Hershey bar wings, but the newer Warriors, they do tend to float a lot. That's definitely an issue for sure. That's definitely an issue. You just get used to that. You get acclimatized to it, and you eventually get better. But those Warriors tend to float for sure. You better, you know, you're lucky if you're landing, or if you're initially doing your flight training at an airport with a relatively long runway, because that way you can bleed off some of the runway until you get more comfortable with it. But I remember my technique in the Warrior used to be, you know, you don't want to follow the PAPIs all the way in, right? You follow the PAPIs up until a certain altitude. And the PAPIs are really just, or the VASIs, whatever it is, in the case of the airport you're flying, it's really there for guidance. What you're really doing is you're, you know, keeping whatever your aiming point is centered, you know, not moving in your windshield. And when you get a certain point, you know, where you're pretty low down, close to the runway, you want to, you know, start bringing, you know, what I would do with a Warrior is really start bringing it in pretty low to the runway, and I would cross over the threshold basically at about flare height, you know, if I wanted to land as quickly as I could and touch down as early as I could. So you bring the Warrior over the runway at about flare height, and that way you can bleed off whatever speed you need to and altitude you need to in order to touch down. That's my technique, at least. Blooms 11212 was saying if you want to do some gliding, there is a lovely field called Lake Station, November Zulu Lima Echo. Lots of gliding goes on in there in real life. Awesome views of the mountains. That's awesome, Blooms. Out of curiosity, is Lake Station, is that South Island or North Island? And the way you're describing it almost sounds like it might be pretty close to pretty close to what do you call it, Queenstown, right? So I'm kind of curious if that's where it's at. Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Flight controls check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Rudder.
With you. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Okay, so the Cobalt is going to take a few seconds here to do the same thing on her side, and then we'll do our before takeoff checklist, and we'll get going not long after that. Okay, Hazaru says, please do Condor. That was so fun to watch. You're even considering buying it. Hazaru, yeah, I'm actually tempted to do another flight in Condor here real quick, for sure. So we might do Condor right after this, actually. So we might do Condor here. So if I have time and if I'm feeling up to doing another flight right after this, we might hop into Condor and do a really quick hop. So one of the things we didn't do on Sunday right in Condor was we didn't do any ridge soaring. So that's what we could do actually if we hop on Condor, is we could do some ridge soaring. So what I'll do is I'll create a poll if I have the motivation and energy right after this flight. I'll create a quick poll and we can decide between some GA flying in Milford Sound or some ridge soaring in Condor. Okay, looks like we're ready for the checklist here. Before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Checked. Briefing.
Confirmed.
Flap setting.
Config 1+F.
Config 1 plus F, V1, VR, V2, flex temp.
121, 125, 130, Toga. Set and checked.
V1, 1, 2, 1, VR, 1, 2, 5, V2, 1, 3, 0, Toga, ATC.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Take off, no blue.
Down to the line.
Okay, we're down to the line. Let me just very quickly catch up on chat here. Blooms1212 was saying South Island is just south of Nelson, which is near the top of South Island. Awesome there, Blooms. Actually, speaking of Nelson, so I've got, I don't know if you fly P3D as well, or if you do any simming there, Blooms, but I've got all of Godzone sceneries, I think, for New Zealand. So I've got the airport we're flying to, Dunedin, or Dunedin, however you pronounce it. I'm not from New Zealand. I'm not going to presume to know how to pronounce the names of the wonderful places in your country. But I am going to ask that if anybody asks me to pronounce things a certain way, to do it respectfully and politely. But the airport we're flying to is from Godzone. Nelson is also from Godzone for Prepared. That's an awesome scenery. And I think I've also got Christchurch as well. So I've got all of his fantastic sceneries from Godzone there. Okay, let's go ahead and taxi on. We'll get going here. I'll catch up on chat once we're airborne. Okay, lights coming on.
Approach path clear of traffic.
Okay, here we go. Clear on final. Below the
Clear
line.
right side, check. Take off runway. Cabin crew, be seated for takeoff. Packs are off.
Below the line. Below the line. Below the line.
Take off runway.
34 confirmed.
Confirmed. Cabin crew.
Advised.
TCAS.
TARA.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Packs.
Off.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Wellington traffic. New Zealand 321 taking off runway 34. Polax 5 Romeo departure. Wellington. Okay, let's get going here.
Wellington traffic, New Zealand 601.
Let's get the thrust levers forward. Let the engine stabilize.
Wellington.
And we'll go full toga. Man toga, SRS, runway auto thrust blue.
Check.
And it's a relatively short runway here. Take off.
Check. V1, V1, rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
All right, climbing out over Wellington here, folks. Bloom says Dunedin is the way you say it. Awesome there, Blooms. Yeah, so you folks certainly have some interesting pronunciations in this part of the world for sure. All right, let's get thrust climb set there. Thrust climb.
Check.
All right.
Packs are on.
Autopilot coming on there. Flaps 1.
Speed check. Flaps 1.
Let's go climb up to our cruising flight level 340 here. Flaps 0.
Speed check. Flaps 0.
Okay, and just off the left side of the airplane there, that's downtown Wellington, right? There we go. Pretty nice views back there. And I'm assuming that's a rugby stadium down there, right? Not sure what the local rugby team is called here in Wellington. But there it is right there. I'm assuming that's a rugby stadium, by the way. Not sure what that is, but pretty cool. Beautiful scenery, this. After takeoff, climb checklist.
Landing gear.
Up.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Packs.
On.
Down to the line.
Okay, Okay, we're down at the line. Let's just get some cinematic shots here as we climb out. And let me catch up on chat here. So, Blomes, coming back to what you mentioned about the pronunciation there. So, I was kind of reading up very, very quickly on Dunedin earlier. So apparently, right, if I understood it correctly, and it's been a while since I've read up on this, but I think there is some connection to Scotland there, right? There's some connection to Edinburgh and Scotland with the naming of Dunedin. So I'm kind of, I think that's where I keep screwing up and pronouncing it Dunedin, because you know, if I, at least from what I remember, right, there was some connection between the naming of Dunedin and Edinburgh and Scotland. So I'm kind of curious if you're familiar with what that history is there, or even if there is such a history. It's been a while since I've read up on this, so I'm just curious. Blomes was saying, highly recommend doing some flying into or out of Nelson. You did most of your training there. That's awesome there, Blomes. It's certainly, it looks like a pretty beautiful place, at least from my sort of vicarious traveling in the sim, right? Not from any real world visits to this beautiful part of the world. Blom says, sure is, the Wellington Hurricanes, they also play cricket and soccer there. That's awesome there, Bloms. Are those the big sports, essentially, in New Zealand? Is it rugby, cricket, and soccer in that case? And Hazaru was saying there's a small town in England called Dunedin, and you were getting confused at the beginning there. Interesting. Yeah, yeah, it's always, you know, so it all depends, right, on where the immigrants that initially settled in that. It's just like the way it is here in the States, right? The naming, the pronunciation of a certain place all depends on...
Confirm seatbelts off.
Confirm. We're at 10,000 feet there, continuing our climb.
Confirm clear, right
and
now.
We were supposed to stay below 250 knots until passing... until completing the turn there towards Lorax. So I'm going to slow down to 250, and then we'll accelerate to our normal climb speed in managed climb mode once we're finished with this turn here. Yeah, so you know, the naming and the pronunciation of a place, right, depends on the initial settlers, right, the initial immigrants that came there. So a great example. You know, well, it depends to an extent. Here in the States, there's a lot of things that get changed over time, right? So a great example of this is the borough. You know, how you pronounce borough in Scotland versus how you pronounce borough as burg in the U.S. So, like, if you look at the city of Pittsburgh, for instance, right? It used to be pronounced, like, originally, I think it was pronounced Pittsburgh. But for some reason, over time, you know, unlike the way Edinburgh is pronounced Edinburgh in Scotland, right, the pronunciation became Berg, which is kind of interesting. So it's kind of interesting how these things change over time. Blomes1212 was saying, yeah, you're not too sure yourself about the Scottish thing. For definitely down south, they have a bit of a Scottish culture. Awesome there, Blomes. Yeah, so that's kind of remember reading something about that. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but I do remember reading something about that. Kyle Longley says, yeah, Kyle, it's, you know, it's an old platform. Quite frankly, I can't wait to be done with it. Hasru says York equals New York. Yeah, there you go. So, you know, some of the places are named, of course, that way as well. Blomes1212 says rugby is the biggest, then probably cricket. Soccer has always been your favorite, though. Awesome there, Blomes. That's kind of interesting. How big of a sport in New Zealand is soccer? Okay, we're coming out of the turn here. Let's go ahead and go back to managed speed mode. And let's go ahead and set standard there. Set standard.
Standard cross-check. Passing flight level 170.
Confirm.
Now.
Checked. Below the line.
Barrel rep.
Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff climb checklist complete.
Okay, after takeoff climb checklist complete, we've got another 86 miles to go to our top of climb. We've got another 12 minutes to go to our top of climb, so that's super awesome. All right, continuing on here. Vlogs earlier was asking, do I use reshade? No, I don't. Vlogs, I've never used reshade.
Activate to secondary.
Never had a need to use it.
All systems have been alerted to your presence, sir.
Confirm. Alright, done with talking to FS2 crew, at least in general top or descent here. Lokestar says soccer is also your favorite. That's awesome there, Lokestar. Yeah, I remember you mentioning some soccer-related stuff in in a previous chat. Or a previous stream there. Hazru says Hampshire equals New Hampshire. Yeah, there you go. So, you know, there's a lot of places, right, in the U.S. where they've just added the word nude to it, and the name of the place that they originally got the inspiration for naming it from, right? So there you go. All right, let's get some of the integrated lighting on here because it's getting a little dark. All right. Let's go get some of those integrated lighting on. And out of curiosity there, Blooms, you mentioned you're an instructor. What kind of aircraft do you instruct in? And if you're, you know, I'm assuming, you know, if you, I'm not sure if you fly out of Nelson there, but if you're a GA instructor, I'm kind of curious what general aviation is like in New Zealand. You know, obviously here in the States, general aviation is like a really, really big thing, right? You know, we have airports in almost every town, every community, and you always have, like, you know, pretty thriving flight schools and a pretty thriving kind of general aviation industry and community, right? So I'm kind of curious what the situation is like in New Zealand. And the reason I ask is because in Australia, you know, I remember hearing about how they started implementing user fees, landing fees, things like that. And general aviation in Australia, my understanding is it started, you know, really kind of suffering as a result. And I'm kind of curious what the situation is like in New Zealand, if that's the kind of instructing you do, that is. More GA, you know, small aircraft type stuff. Blom says it's not as popular as you wish it was. Yeah, there you go. That's true in a lot of parts of the world. In the United States, for sure, soccer is not as popular as it should be. You know, I wish soccer was a bit more popular in the U.S. than it was in, or than it is in what do you call it? I wish soccer was a bit more popular than American football, but obviously that's never going to happen, right? That's just never going to happen. Hazaru says, I forgot Sim Toolkit Pro. Thanks for reminding me there, Hazaru. I'm going to pull that up right now, actually. Let's see if we can get the Sim Toolkit Pro display showing there. Thanks for reminding me. I'll try and pull that up right now. And let's get some background ambient music there in the background. Let me just very quickly pull something up here. All right. Just give me 1 second here. Working a couple of things at once here, both Sim Toolkit Pro and and some background audio. Okay, there we go. Okay, background audio is coming on, and let's start Sim Toolkit Pro here. So I think I go to flight planning. There we go. And I got to put in NZWN, NZDN. There we go. Create from root. And I've got to put in Air New Zealand 321. Call sign Air New Zealand 321. Aircraft A320. Private. And network is VATSIM. Okay, there we go. Fly now. And hopefully that should be showing on your screens. Actually, wait. Just got to enable the overlay there. Okay, hopefully that's showing. Let me make sure I show altitude there. Fantastic. Hopefully that is in fact showing. All right, let's see. Lokestar, it's not the way I pronounce it. It's just, I think it's just my, I get this question so often. It's my filters, it's my audio filters. It's picking up certain words a certain way. It's picking up certain sounds a certain way. I think that's what's going on. That's my guess, at least. It's not a Californian accent, though. I don't think it's a California accent thing. Blomes 1212 was saying, Cessna 152 at the moment. GA definitely isn't as big as it is in the United States. Most airports are quite small, but the aero community is quite tight-knit. Yeah, I can totally imagine there, Blomes. Yeah, but lucky you, though, that you get to fly in such a beautiful part of the world. Super jealous that you get to fly there. That is a part of the world that I definitely want to visit and do some flying in. I want to do, you know, some power plane flying when I visit there, and I definitely want to do some GA flying as well. Micah, it doesn't really matter. Let me go ahead and turn this down just a little bit there. There we go. Overlord, hopefully that that satisfies your demands there. Welcome, by the way, Overlord. Didn't notice you were online, but welcome. My headset doesn't give me the feedback I need to know whether or not it's loud or too quiet. Too loud or too quiet, rather. Okay, let's see. Blooms1212 was saying you've had more experience with the flight school side of things, though. Yeah, that totally makes sense there, Blooms. Out of curiosity, Blooms, how are you essentially, because here in the States, right, typically what happens is that, and I'm sure it's the same way in your part of the world too, and I have no reason to think it's different, but typically, you have people, young people kind of, initially, they get their CFI, their CFI certificate, and then they start flight training until they build enough time to go and apply for one of the regional carriers or for the airlines, right? Is that kind of your plan, out of curiosity? If that's something you're comfortable sharing, of course. But is that your plan to kind of work towards that in the long run, to eventually fly for an airline? And Tratan Min from Vietnam, welcome. That's a beautiful country you got there, Tratan Min. Thanks for hanging out with us. So yeah, the love from Vietnam is certainly more than appreciated, and thanks for hanging out with us today. You're more than welcome to hang out as long as you want. Kai Longley says American football is not the best to play, but fun to watch. Yeah, okay. Blooms1212 is saying you have no idea what is going on with American football rules-wise, but over lockdown you learned the rules for baseball. That's one of the nice things about lockdown, right? There's so many interesting things that we've all kind of there's interesting new things, I think, that we all now have the time to pick up on and learn. I've been watching a lot more flight sim streams, actually. I've noticed I've had a bit more time to watch some amazing streamers on Twitch and on YouTube as well. So it's super interesting for sure, the amount of time that lockdown is giving us to explore things that we wouldn't have had the time to in the past, right? But that's kind of funny that you picked up the rules of baseball there. Baseball is a funny sport. It's super... it's there's a lot of rules and weird stuff going on in baseball for sure. But kudos to you for willing to pick that up there, Plums. Kai Longley says the rules change all the time. Yes, exactly. See, that's my other problem with American football, football, right? Or American football. that's my other problem with it. Is that, boy, it's just, God, the whole catch thing kind of turned me off of it, in addition to the concussion thing, of course, but that's a different story. Micah, it doesn't really matter. I figured somebody stole the call sign. I figured it was probably you. So there you go. Antonio Manson from Bali. Welcome, Antonio. Hope you're doing well. How is life in the beautiful island of Bali treating you? Blooms, absolutely. Blooms, I will take you up on that. If I'm ever down in Nelson for any reason, at some point in the future, I will make sure to hit you up. By the way, speaking of which, how is the situation in New Zealand in terms of travel and gatherings of people, things like that, right, due to the COVID situation? So from what I've been seeing in the news here in the States, New Zealand sounds like one of the countries that was really on top of this right from the beginning. And from what I was seeing recently, right, it looks like life is almost completely normal down there, right? You can gather in groups of people. You've essentially reduced transmission of the virus down to zero. So that's super cool if that's the case. Hope life there is treating you well. But I certainly will take you up on that offer for sure there, Blooms. I definitely will. Hazaru says GA is quite small in the UK. You're not sure about the US, but GA aircraft prices are insanely high to hire and buy. Yeah, I heard that, Hazaru. So one of our moderators, Will Dewey, who actually happens to be in Iceland at the moment, he's doing he's with a family friend, or a group of family friends, doing a fun, trip around Iceland in a TBM 930, I think. So they're having a really fun time flying all around Iceland, exploring, and Will mentions that he's hoping to bring us back some content and videos, hopefully, from his little trip in Iceland. But he was mentioning the same thing, you know, about how expensive it is to get a pilot's license and to do any sort of GA flying in the UK. From what I've heard, it's super restrictive. The rules are completely different. The prices are insanely out of whack with anything I have familiarity with. So yeah, it's crazy. The situation in the UK in terms of general aviation certainly seems a little nuts for sure. Thon Min was saying
1,000 to go.
Same this video edited. I'm not sure what you mean there, Trothon Min. What do you mean same this video edited? I'm not sure if I misunderstood that. Let's see. Blomes 1212 says your goal is to instruct until you get requirements for Air New Zealand. Not looking like that'll happen soon, unfortunately, due to the global situation. Yeah, totally there, Blomes. Hopefully New Zealand, you know, hopefully they haven't, you know, or Air New Zealand rather, hasn't gone through any sort of like furloughs or anything like that due to the COVID situation. But I can imagine, you know, just, you know, a country, you know, where tourism, you know, at least as I understand it, tourism is a big industry in New Zealand, right? I can imagine that the COVID situation has hit that place pretty hard as well.
Cruising flight level 340, check.
Overlord 21A says you're always online. Glad to be aboard. Didn't realize I was live. Hey, no worries at all, Overlord. Thanks for hanging out with us today. AJL15 November. AJ, welcome to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hope you're doing fantastic, AJ. Haven't seen your name in a while, but thanks for hanging out with us, for sure. Blomes1212, thanks so much for the five New Zealand dollar donation there, Blomes. Blomes says, love your work, keep up the positive vibe. Absolutely, I will certainly aim to there, Blomes. Thank you so much for the donation, and for more importantly for hanging out with us and participating. You know, one of the reasons I do these streams, right? And I've mentioned this to a lot of my regular viewers. I do these streams as much for my own entertainment as for the entertainment of folks who are willing to hang out with us and watch a fun flight sim stream every once in a while. These streams certainly wouldn't be as entertaining or as fun without folks like you know, who fly in other parts of the world, or aviation enthusiasts in other parts of the world, like Hazaru, etc. You know, who are willing to kind of share and you know, just generally sort of like chit chat and you know, blab away and discuss, you know, the interesting you know, what aviation looks like in different parts of the world. It's always, you know, awesome to learn and discuss these things, you know, because you know, we all have a shared passion for aviation, but boy, I got to tell you, it's super interesting how aviation can differ and also have some similarities, right, in different parts of the world. But thank you so much once again for hanging out with us today. Blomes 1212 is saying very little restrictions here since lockdown. Since you locked down extremely early, we can gather or travel domestically unrestricted. All of your current cases are in managed isolation. Well, that is awesome, Blooms. That is super cool. Certainly better than you can say about some other parts of the world, right? So that's super cool. Boy, look at this beautiful scenery, though. This is really amazing. Look at this beautiful scenery. We're let's see, how far away are we from Christchurch? Actually, we're coming up on Christchurch here in just about 3 to 4 minutes. Christchurch is almost directly ahead of us. We're going to be overflying Christchurch, actually. So if there's not much cloud cover over Christchurch, hopefully we can get some fantastic views of that beautiful city. But boy, I got to tell you, for those of you who are in chat from New Zealand, beautiful country you got here. One of the most beautiful places in the world for sure. Beautiful country you got here. Okay, let's see. We've got another 130 miles to go to our top of descent. We've got 235 miles to go to Dunedin, as I've been reminded by viewers in chat. I haven't been to this part of the world in real life, obviously, so I had no idea how to pronounce it. And we've got another 37 minutes to go before we're down on the ground in Dunedin. So that is fantastic. Okay, let's go back to some cinematic shots here. And I'm going to catch up on chat. Antonio Manson says, Bali is in great shape right now. Life is slowly going back to normal. That is awesome, Antonio. Well, I hope you're enjoying your time there. And I hope you're finding some time to relax on the beach or whatever it is you folks down in Bali do for fun. this is one of the great questions, right? That we always ask. What do people, do? Where do people from Southern California go on vacation, right? And the answer is obviously Hawaii or someplace else in the world. But where do people from Bali go on vacation? Always been curious to know. Kyle Longley says, you mean it's expensive here already, so you can't imagine how bad it is where it's more expensive. Yeah, totally there, Kyle. Yeah, and Kyle was mentioning earlier, and I missed this, Kyle, sorry, you were saying something about the Just Flight Cherokee essentially floating a lot. Yeah, so Just Flight, Kyle, doesn't make, the most representative add-ons from a flight dynamics perspective. Although, I gotta be fair, I've never flown any of the Just Flight add-ons in X-Plane 11, so I would not be entirely sure, I know enough about that, right? But I haven't heard the best things about Just Flight, to be honest, so I don't know enough about it. Let's see. What else did I miss here? Antonio Manson says you stream so late in the evening, not sure. So Antonio, like I was saying, I've had a bit more time in some of my weeknights, not all of them, some of them. Usually Wednesday, right, hump day. That's when I get a bit more time in the evenings to maybe do a little bit more streaming. So this is not something I'm going to be doing in perpetuity. This is something I just have a bit more time for right now, and so this is just something I'm going to be doing at least until at least while I have the motivation to do it. So I'm not sure I'm going to be doing this, forever. It's just something I'm doing right now while I have a bit more time due to the COVID restrictions, on going outdoors and things like that. So that's the reason for some of these late evening streams. I am still doing some of my weekend streams though. So I did a stream on Sunday, and so I've still been doing these weekend streams as well, during the usual, morning or afternoon time. Let's see. Kyle Longley was asking, where do I get the music from? Kyle, I get the music from the YouTube audio library, or I get these from non-copyrighted sources. I used to play a lot of my own sort of fun copyrighted music, just from my own personal library, and I'm probably going to do that in some of my future streams if I feel like it. It just kind of depends on my mood. It's sometimes just easier to pick non-copyrighted music and not have to worry about the whole, do I monetize a video or not, and things like that, right? So, this music that you're hearing right now, the ambient music in the background, that comes from the YouTube audio library. That's the story there. Hazaru was saying you're looking at about £10,000 for private pilot license, and then upward of £100,000 for a 1970 era 172. Holy cow! Yeah, see, that's pretty bad. That's crazy. That's crazy there, Hazaru. I think when Will Dewey mentioned some of this on my channel in the past, this was many months ago before he was a mod on my channel, I was just like, Will, I am never ever gonna I'm never ever going to I'm never ever going to fly in your country, at least on my own, You've got a beautiful country there, but I'm not sure I want to fly there with just how crazy expensive it is. But that is nuts there, Hazaru. It's totally nuts. Now, out of curiosity, Hazaru, you said, I think you mentioned in the past that you've done a bit of gliding yourself, right? What is the situation like if you want to be a glider pilot in the UK? Is it still as expensive, or is it a lot easier to get into, both from a cost and a time and an accessibility perspective? And in terms of accessibility, I also, one of the things I know about the UK, right, is that beautiful views of Christchurch below us, by the way. Boy, these clouds are beautiful, aren't they? It's very, very rare to be flying high above cirrus clouds like this in the low flight level 300s. So we're at flight level 340, and we're flying over a nice little layer of cirrus here. This is beautiful. And that below us, that is Godzone's Christchurch scenery. Man, if you haven't heard of Godzone, look him up. it's a one-person, you know, outfit. It's a one-person developer, and he's based somewhere in New Zealand, but he makes some of the best sceneries for New Zealand, in my experience, for Prepared. So this is a gorgeous scenery for the whole Christchurch area. As you can see, he's got photoreal scenery coverage for the entire area, you know, for many, many, many miles all around Christchurch. The frames are dropping just a little bit, unfortunately. I should probably turn down my settings just a little bit before we did this flight. But it's beautiful photoreal scenery coverage here for this area. There's Christchurch International below us, just ahead of us. But this is beautiful. Okay, let's go back to some cinematic shots there. But Hazaru, yeah, it's totally crazy how expensive it is there. AJ was saying you're doing well. You're finally done with your college semester, but now you've got EMT class. That's awesome, AJ. That's super cool. AJ, are you doing classes in person, or classes gone completely virtual and online for you as well? But good luck with that EMT class for sure. I want to hear more about how that EMT class is treating you as you progress through it. And totally there, AJ. Thanks for turning on the notifications on my streams for sure. Let's see. Overlord was asking any reason I stream on YouTube and not Twitch. No reason in particular there, Overlord. No reason in particular. It's just I started streaming on YouTube, built a following, built an audience, and most of my full flight videos, which is kind of the main focus of my channel, is these edited videos that I create, are on YouTube, obviously. Actually, all my full flight videos are on YouTube. So, and I'm intending to create more sort of edited content on YouTube as well. So for me, I stream on YouTube and not Twitch just because I'm kind of used to it. I'm used to the platform. And it's also nice to kind of have everything in one place, as opposed to streaming on Twitch and then eventually uploading the videos to YouTube. You know, it's just easier for me to have everything in one place. That being said, you know, I've mentioned this in my streams in the past. One of the things I like about Twitch, and I've mentioned this to folks, people that I know who stream on Twitch as well, they have an amazing community on Twitch, right? Which we don't have as much of in YouTube. It's the flight sim community, I mean. So, you know, the flight simmers who stream on YouTube, you know, I think we're all aware of each other. We know each other's names. We know who streams and what kind of streaming we do. But, you know, we don't have the same sort of community that they do on Twitch, right? And a big part of that is because YouTube, unlike Twitch, does not have a host feature, or a raid feature, right? On Twitch, you can actually raid another streamer's audience. You can actually not raid another streamer's audience, you can raid another streamer's channel, right? So you can essentially hand off whoever's left in your audience at the end of the stream off to somebody that's doing a stream that's, you know, live at the moment that your stream is ending. And that is a fantastic way, you know, to build a community, right? And that's a fantastic way to kind of share a community among different streamers, right? And that's something we don't have on YouTube, you know, as much. So, you know, most of us know who the other streamers are on YouTube for flight sim and things like that, but it's just not as tight-knit of a community, unfortunately. So that's, you know, that alone might be a good reason for me to switch to Twitch. But, you know, the problem with switching to Twitch is that, you know, you're kind of starting from scratch, right? You know, you're hoping that some folks are willing to go over to Twitch. You know, you're hoping that you can build an audience there as well. So for me, as of right now, I'm comfortable on YouTube. I've got a good audience. I've got a set of regulars that I like hanging out with. So I like YouTube for right now. Twitch might be something I try in the future. Antonio, I'm in the beta for the Microsoft Flight Simulator, the new one, but I can't talk about that beyond just saying I'm in the beta, unfortunately. Micah says you're going to build ortho. Yeah, it's certainly a nice country to have the ortho for sure there, Micah. Hazru says you're not doing too great here in England. You lifted lockdown almost completely about 2 weeks ago, and now you're having certain regions in the north put in full lockdown with curfews and the like. Yeah, Hazru. That's one of the things people all over the world are discovering, right? With very, very rare exceptions. Look, you know, one of the things, unfortunately, that we've discovered with this virus, you know, not to get into this too much, because I know part of the reason we tune into flight sim streams and things like that is to get away from all the everyday worries that we have to deal with, right? But I'm just going to say one thing on this, which is that countries that didn't do it right off the bat are discovering, to their horror, that it's really hard, to tamp it down if you didn't get it right the first time. So, obviously you can see the difference between how countries like New Zealand and South Korea are faring versus how countries that kind of thought, they could kind of let it spread and herd immunity would take over, which is the initial thing that, politicians in the UK were thinking, right? Anyway, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Fabian Palomo, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Antonio Manson says you go to Flores Island to see the Komodo dragon. It is like Hawaii in Indonesia. That's awesome there, Antonio. I'm gonna have to look up that island for sure. Blomes1212 was asking, what aircraft types do I fly or have flown? Blomes, that is an extensive list. I'm gonna see if I can remember all of them. So I learned to fly in a Piper Warrior, like I think it was a Cherokee 2, or not a Cherokee 2, a Warrior 2. So it's one of the older Warriors, and I think it was 160 horsepower. It wasn't the newer, 180 horsepower Warriors. It was a 160 horsepower. So that's what I learned to fly in initially. And then right after that, I got my complex. So I flew a 172R. If you ever flown a 172 with retractable landing gear, holy cow, that retractable landing gear on a 172 is super weird. It's super weird for sure, because it's really weird. You got to watch a video of the landing gear retracting on a 172R. But that's the next aircraft type I flew. And then of course, I got checked out in a regular 172, like a fixed landing gear 172. And since then, I've been flying a bunch of different types. So I fly primarily tailwheel aircraft these days. So I learned to fly tailwheel in a Super Cub, and I fly a Citabria a lot. And I fly a Piper Pawnee for my glider club every once in a while to tow gliders up. And then I've also flown a Diamond 20, a Katana, that used to belong to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. So that was an interesting airplane to fly because it had a bit of history there. And I've flown a few other types as well that I can't remember right off the bat right now. I've also, by the way, one of the really interesting types that I've flown, this was with a friend of mine who happened to have access to a Boeing Stearman. I've got about a half hour in a Boeing Stearman, that is the pride and joy entry in my logbook. That is the entry in my logbook that I'm always pointing to with a lot of pride, because flying a Stearman was such an amazing thing to check off on my bucket list. I'd never flown open cockpit before, never flown a biplane before, and that was one of the coolest experiences of my life, flying a Stearman. But besides that, I think a number of other aircraft types as well. I can't remember them right off the top of my head at the moment, but I'm sure they'll come back to me. Okay, I'm trying to pull up the METAR here for Dunedin. Give me 1 second. Where is this? It's not easily accessible for some reason. Give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna pull up Active Sky. Here we go. Here we go. Winds are still calm, actually, at Dunedin. Okay. Let's go ahead and get in our weather information in here. QNH is 1009er. Temperature is, 8. And winds are calm, 0/0. And we're going to be doing the ILS-21 approach today. So, let's see. Decision altitude is 254 feet. Okay, got all that information in. Fantastic. All right, and I've also got to put this up top here as well. So give me 1 second to do that. What is the transition level here? It's 150. Okay, 150 for transition level. And approach type is going to be ILS, Cat 1. We're going to we have a decision altitude of 250, pause at top and descend there, 254 feet on the DA, and final approach fix will be crossed at 3,500 feet. Okay, got all that in. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and roll our altitude selector here down to an altitude of... let's say 4,000 for now. I'm going to assume since ATC is not online, obviously, that I've been cleared to descend via the MIPAK 3 Bravo arrival, rather, there, 4,000. So let's put that in for now. Okay, fantastic. And once we start our descent, we'll do our approach briefing here. I'm going to catch up on chat while that's going on. Bloom says you can see your old house from there. Awesome. That I'm assuming, Blooms, that you were saying that as we were crossing over Christchurch. Is that where you're from originally then, Blooms? Beautiful city, if so. AJ says you're doing all your courses online. You've done EMT for New York State, but since you moved back to Tennessee, you need to renew since you need national EMT. New York State does not recognize the National Registry EMT, but you'll keep us updated. Awesome there, AJ. Good luck with that for sure. But it's super cool that you did that in New York State as well. Kyle Longley says you really like the YouTube streamers, especially in Flight Sim. Yeah, we've got a good set of streamers for sure. Absolutely. Hazru says accessibility is quite low. The CAA is quite tight on who can fly and where. You have quite an old PPL training method. You think we even have a rain rating? What is that, out of curiosity? And also insurance prices here. yeah, I can imagine. It just sounds like, a massive cluster, right? It just sounds like super, like just a mess to deal with and negotiate. Yeah, that's never fun, I got to tell you, even in the States, right, where it's relatively easy to get into flying and GA is so open and welcoming here in the States, even here, regulations, paperwork, all that stuff can just be a pain to negotiate sometimes. And boy, I can't imagine, a situation like you have in the UK. Okay, coming up on our top of descent here, let's go ahead and initiate our descent. Okay, manage descent mode, and we'll descend via the MIPAK 3 Bravo there. Okay, and before we do our approach briefing, let's go ahead and very quickly catch up on chat here. Micah says Twitch just seems to make things easier for you. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm guessing if you're used to that platform, it totally makes sense. Rabandi for Monsiak Aquila, welcome on board. Thank you for the kind words. Hazru, yeah, totally Hazru. It is insane. The 172 Cutlass, there you go. 172 Cutlass. The Cutlass is the one. Yeah, it's got a super interesting landing gear. The way the landing gear extends and retracts up into the fuselage in a Cutlass is super interesting. It's so weird. It's one of the weirdest things you're ever gonna see for sure. Fabian was asking what versions of FSLabs am I flying. Fabian, this is V5, yeah, but it's not a prepared version 5. It's just the version 5 release of FSLabs with full PBR, etc. In version 4.5 of prepared. That's what you're seeing there. Blooms 1212 says that the 172R was the second aircraft you flew after the 152. You know what I mean about the gear, though. Yeah, totally. There, Hazru, or not Hazru, sorry, but Blooms. Totally. It is weird. No matter how many years have passed since I've flown it, it still doesn't stop being weird. It's just a really interesting mechanism for sure. Blooms, I've done just the tiniest amount of aerobatics. So my friend who had access to the steerman, we did a number of fun maneuvers. It was the best time of my life, honestly. One of the funnest things I've done flying. But we put the steerman through its paces, and we did some fun aerobatics in the steerman. And boy, I gotta tell you, if you have never done aerobatics in an open cockpit biplane, oh my god, you owe it to yourself. Just do it. If you have access, or if you can get access, somehow, get yourself access to an open cockpit biplane, and find somebody who's willing to take you up and do some aerobatics in it. It is the most insane experience of your life, right? Because if you're doing a loop in an open cockpit biplane, when you reach the top of the loop, my friend had me look straight down, right, at the ground, and there's nothing between you and the ground. The only thing keeping you up in the airplane are the harnesses, right? That was amazing. That was one of the craziest experiences of my life. But yeah, just the tiniest amount of aerobatics. I haven't done like a full aerobatics upset training course. It's something I owe myself, and I probably should be doing at some point in my life. There, Blooms, but just the smallest amount of aerobatics. Okay, I probably should do my approach briefing here, so we don't lose too much more time here. Fabian, you're more than welcome to take a screenshot right here. So no paintings here, just a screenshot, right? You're welcome to take as many screenshots as you would like. Okay, let's do our approach briefing here. Are you ready for the approach brief?
Ready.
Okay, the weather at Dunedin, as I've been kindly reminded is the correct pronunciation of the place we're going to. Winds are calm, visibility greater than 10 kilometers. Ceiling's broken at 2,000, which is kind of unfortunate. Few clouds at 15,800, temperature 08, dew point 04, and QNH is 1008 now. Okay. And we're going to be arriving via the MIPAK 2 Bravo RNAV arrival today. Let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. Okay, MIPAK 2 Bravo RNAV arrival. Transition level, flight level 150, RMP 1 required. And over MIPAK onto Ipkug, about 10,000 feet. Onto Adbad, then onto Bigar at or about 4,000. Then onto SCAT, which is going to be the initial approach fix for the ILS 21 approach. So let's brief the approach blade here. ILS runway 21 approach, 109.9er is the ILS frequency, identifier India Delta November, final approach course 210. From over SCAT at 3,500 on a 10.7 DME, that's going to be our final approach point, and then down the glide slope we go. Decision altitude is 254 feet and visibility minimum of 1.2 kilometers. Airport elevation 4 feet. MSAs within 25 nautical miles of the swampy VOR, 6,900 feet to the north, 3,700 feet to the west, and 3,700 feet to the east, and 5,800 feet to the southwest. In case we need to go missed, I'm going to call if we go around flaps. We're going to climb on a track of 211 to the Barrydale NDB, and we'll hold there at a mandatory altitude of 3,500 feet. Use the Dunedin altimeter setting, and back course is not to be used. Okay, that's good to note. Alright, all good there. And we're going to be landing flaps full today, auto brake setting of medium. It's a 6,234 foot runway, and we're just going to have to roll out all the way to the end here, or not the end, you know, we're just going to let the airplane roll out as long as it needs to, and then we're going to flip the airplane around, backtrack to Alpha, and then Alpha to the to one of the gates here, the terminal. So that is our plan. Special considerations: we do have a relatively low ceiling. Actually, it's not that bad, to be honest. Still VFR. No, it's not really VFR, but you know, it's still good. It's not bad at all. So that's really about it. Nothing else in our approach briefing here. Let's hide that away. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Auto brake medium there. Let's check out what our approach speed is going to be. 136 there. It's a kind of a shorter runway. I got to make sure I don't touch down too far down the runway there. GNEA, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Rural Lord says my approach briefings are much more in-depth than yours. Okay. Yeah, well, you know, approach briefings are in real life, right? Approach briefings are supposed to be suited to the situation, to the pilots that are doing the briefing. You know, just like with any presentation, right? I do a lot of presentations in my career, but in work life. But you know, you always tailor your presentation to the audience, right? In my case, my approach briefings are tailored to me because I'm the one that's going to be flying the approach and doing, you know, I'm trying to, you know, I'm basically tailoring it to my ability to kind of absorb information and process information. And so the approach brief is kind of in-depth given, you know, that's the way my mind works. But, you know, approach briefings can be totally different, understandably, you know, for different people, given on how they absorb and process information, right? So that's the way it's supposed to be. Nairobistry, welcome on board, first of all. Thanks for hanging out with us. I am a real-life pilot, Nairobistry, although I am not a professional pilot. I am just a weekend warrior private pilot. So I do a fair amount of tailwheel flying in real life, and I do a fair amount of glider flying as well. That's the primary kind of flying I do in real life. But I'm not a professional pilot, though. Let's see, what else did I miss here? Fabian, thanks for the kind words and the music there. Patrick James says, welcome back to New Zealand, the creation of The Hobbit. Absolutely, Patrick. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hope you're doing well. Hazaru says, let's see. Kyle Longley was asking, is the Cutlass much faster than 172R? Not really, Kyle. You know, honestly, it's one of the myths of, we're through a transition there. Let me go ahead and reset altimeter 1008. QNH 1008 set.
1008 set, passing 12,500.
Approach checklist.
Briefing.
Confirmed.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Seatbelts.
On.
Barrel rep. Now.
QNH 1008 set.
1008 set. Minimum.
254 feet set.
254 feet set. Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist complete.
Okay, approach checklist complete. We're descending through 11,800 feet there. I've reset my altitude selector down to 3,500 feet. That's the altitude at which we're going to capture the localizer and glide slope there. So I'm assuming I've been cleared the ILS at Escott. Okay. Let me very quickly check on things here in VATSA. I'm still no controllers online, so it's just me and Micah kind of flying in here. All right, let's see. Micah was saying the DRAMS is the new radio system they have in the A350, A380. Awesome there, Micah. But yeah, Kyle, so what was I saying? What was I trying to say earlier? Yeah, so one of the big myths in aviation, right, is that you know, retracting the landing gear really helps you increase your speed. Not really. I mean, you know, you might be able to gain an additional 5 to 10 knots, but not a whole lot. You know, and plus, you know, when you add a retractable landing gear mechanism to an airplane like a 172, you're adding a lot of weight, right, in terms of the actual motors and the mechanism of the landing gear and things like that. So that trade-off doesn't necessarily always translate into better performance, longer range, or higher speeds. It doesn't always translate into it because there is a trade-off there. You know, you're trading off a cleaner fuselage for a heavier airplane. Typically, right? So that's part of the reason the Cirrus airplanes, right? If you look at the SR-22, it's a super fast airplane, but the SR-22 has a fixed landing gear. That doesn't, you know, affect its performance a whole lot because, you know, despite the fact that it has a fixed landing gear, it's still, you know, it doesn't have the weight penalty of a retractable landing gear. So, you know, I personally like having retractable landing gears in the airplanes I fly every once in a while. It is cooler, right? There's kind of a, it's kind of cool to do a gumps check. You know, it's cool to, you know, be able to raise the landing gear on takeoff and things like that. You know, but honestly, the performance isn't always there. And I'm talking like small aircraft, not like super high performance aircraft like the TBMs. For a TBM, it totally makes sense to have a retractable landing gear, you know. But for aircraft in the SR, you know, 22, you know, the you know, Bonanza class of aircraft, you know, landing gear, a retractable landing gear is not always doesn't always translate into higher performance, right? So that's my opinion anyway. Just kind of based on everything I've seen. Let's get the speed brakes out just a little bit here so we can get back on the VNAV path there. We're about 1130 above, or deviating at about 1100 feet above the path that we were expected to be on. Okay, let's see, what else did I miss here? Bloom says you need a rating to fly through rain. How do they define? Holy cow, what? Azru, you're pulling our leg, right? There's no way that's true. There's no way that's true. You actually need a rating to fly through rain? Wait, so hold on a second. If you get an IFR or an instrument rating in the UK, does that automatically allow you to fly through rain, or is that a completely different rating? Because that's nuts. Hazru says it just isn't something people care about here. Airports are few and far between, and pilots are like unicorns. Yeah, you know, I was looking up the number of pilots in the U.S., right? Certified pilots. It's actually higher than I thought it was. I thought it was about 500,000 at most. In reality, it's about 610,000, I think. At the last time, you know, it was counted. So we've got, you know, a huge pilot community in the U.S., right? Obviously, the population is about 400 million, give or take. And but still, 600,000 is a lot of pilots, right? It basically means that, you know, if you have a gathering of about 100 people, you know that quite likely at least one of those people is a pilot, right? If I'm not getting my... No, hold on a second. No, that's not right. That's not right, right? Not sure. I need to do the math on that. That's probably not right, actually, but I need to do the math on that. 1 second later. Let me start descending here a little bit. Flaps 1.
Check. Speed check. Flaps 1.
Okay, let's go ahead and arm approach mode there. Yeah, I need to do the math on that, what I was saying earlier. That probably wasn't accurate, but either case, right, there's a lot of pilots in the US compared to, as a percentage of population, compared to some other parts of the world. Let's see, what else did I miss here? Nairobistry was asking, does a pilot start to lower flaps 1 immediately top of descent? No, Nairobistry, no. You lower flaps 1 when it makes sense. Usually, as you're beginning your approach, that's usually when you start to lower flaps 1. But definitely not at top of descent. If you do it at top of descent, chances are you're going to overstress the airframe. So definitely not at top of descent. A little later than that. Flaps 2.
Speed check.
So you saw where we set flaps 1 as we were coming up on the approach. That's when I set flaps 1. So that's usually when you do it. Okay, breaking out of the clouds here, getting some glimpses of this gorgeous photoreal scenery around Dunedin. Boy, I'm going to have fun with the pronunciation of that word for sure. But here we are. This is another fantastic scenery from Godzone as well. Beautiful coverage here. Okay, Lokestar. And of course, we've got Lokestar's namesake in the moderator, among our moderators as well, in the chat box rather. Okay, and I'm going to get this out of our system right now, because I know it's going to come up later.
I got a bad feeling about this.
All right. And let's go ahead and go down to 3,000 there. Try to capture that localizer as quickly as we can. I'm going to catch up on the rest of the chat here. Blomes was saying, I'll tell you, it sure was a step up flying the Cutlass from flying a little low-powered 152. Oh, absolutely, Blomes. Yeah, the 152, you know, I never flew a 152 until... So I did... I have flown a 152 because there is a 152 in the flying club that I'm part of. But I didn't fly a 152 until, oh boy, quite a while until quite a while after, you know, I got my PPL. So I think it was almost 10 years after I got my PPL was the first time I flew a 152, and boy, it sure is a very different aircraft than I expected. Okay, there we go. Gonna set missed approach altitude at 3,500 there. Glide slope capture. Let's slow down to 180 there. Dunedin traffic, Air New Zealand 321 is 8 miles to the northeast. Inbound to the ILS 21, full stop, Dunedin. Okay, just going to focus on landing here, and then I'll catch up on chat. I do want to learn more about this rain rating. That is the weirdest thing that I've ever heard. You need a rain rating in the UK. That's crazy. Okay, gear down.
Gear down.
2,000.
Flaps 3.
Speed check. Flaps 3.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Flaps full.
Speed check. Flaps full.
Landing
Cabin
checklist.
crew be seated for landing. Cabin crew.
Advised.
Auto thrust.
Speed.
Auto brake.
Medium.
ECAM memo.
Landing no blue.
Landing checklist complete.
Okay, landing checklist complete. Let's go ahead and disconnect the autopilot there. That's why, that's specifically why we have exclamation mark autopilot in chat from 2001: A Space Odyssey, of course. Okay, we're doing well. We're right on the glide path there.
1,000.
But boy, this is a beautiful part of New Zealand for sure. You got the mountains off there to the right. Got some, got another ridge off there to the left as well. Beautiful little valley this that we're flying into. Bloom says you have a night rating as well. That's interesting. Yeah, so, you know, typically in the US, if you get your PPL, that allows you to fly at night. You're not supposed to fly in the rain, but as long as you're VFR, technically you can, right? In the US, there's no such thing as a rain rating. So that's super interesting, though. Flight directors off, bird on. Okay, flight directors are off. Just going to follow the PAPIs there all the way in for the most part.
500.
Once I'm below 200 feet, I'm just going to disregard the PAPIs and go off visual cues that I have.
400.
But no excuses to botch this, obviously. Winds are calm.
100 above.
Conditions are definitely not hazardous or inclement or challenging in any way imaginable. So
minimum.
No excuses not to make this good.
200. 100.
Glide.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard. 10, 5.
Pretty. Spoilers. Reverse green. Decel.
There you go. A little bit of Lara David, don't hurt nobody, right? There you go. All right.
70 knots.
And just for that, Micah, here's what we're going to do. Just for that, Micah, I'm going to purposefully take my time getting off the runway here. And we may or may not get to see Micah Vabora do a little bit of a go-around there. In case you haven't noticed, I like tormenting my mods every once in a while. Mostly because my mods love to torment me. So we might make Micah do a bit of a go-around here. Okay, we're going to flip around, head down to Alpha, backtrack. Let's see, how far out is Micah? I don't see him on approach here, so he's got plenty of space. He can make it down a little bit here.
Excellent.
There we go, Mr. Burns with the excellent. That's fantastic. These sound effects are certainly finding a lot of use here. Overlord, it's dark because it's twilight, or it's evening, it's dusk. The sun is setting, and there's cloud cover, that's why it's dark. And the runway lights are on, which should be another clue. So that's why it's dark. I'm not sure if you were being sarcastic when you asked that question, but that's why it's dark. Nairobi Street was asking, how would I know that you're beginning the approach, especially in planes like a 172? So Nairobi, starting an approach, and I'm talking about an instrument approach, starting an instrument approach means you're officially, you know, at some, either you're getting, you know, you're basically, you know, on a vector to a final approach course if you're talking to ATC, and ATC has cleared you for an approach, or if you're coming up on an initial approach fix. At that point, you're officially on the instrument approach. So I'm going to leave everything in landing configuration here, obviously, so that we can check out a quick replay of the landing, and then we'll figure out what we want to do next. I have another quick 30 minutes after this to do like either a VFR flight, you know, a flight in the J3 Cub or something. Boy, I hate that beacon effect. That really sucks. That beacon effect is terrible. 1 second. I'm gonna jump over to one of the other gates here because I can't deal with that beacon effect. It's terrible. Micah, how far out are you? We're either gonna do a.
I'm on a base for runway 03, so joke's on you. I don't land until about another 5 minutes.
I don't know what the hell he just said. I think he said something about a base to 03. I guess Micah is making things more interesting for everybody. We'll watch a replay, or we'll watch Micah land here in a second. We're either going to do a flight in the J3 Cub at Milford Sound in New Zealand as well, or we're going to do a flight in Condor. So I'm going to set up a poll here real quick after we watch Michael land, and we'll watch the replays as we go through the poll, and then we'll jump into either Condor to do a soaring flight, or we'll jump into we'll jump into what do you call it? You know, then we'll jump into either Condor or we'll do a flight in Milford Sound in the J3 Cup or another airplane. So let me set up a poll here. What is Micah doing here? I'm not sure. Micah, are you visual at this point? I'm not sure if your weather is different in...
traffic, New Zealand 691 is 10 miles out, runway 03, Dunedin.
Oh, I see what he did. Okay. That way he got some spacing. Okay, fantastic. Gotcha. Okay. All right, fantastic. All right, let's see. Hazard with a show off. I'm not sure if show off worked there. I didn't hear it, or maybe I just missed hearing it. There you go, Micah. You definitely taking runway 03, so the joke is on me. Xanix Volpe, good to see you. Welcome on board. And thank you. The landing was certainly, that worked out pretty nicely. I'm pretty happy with that one. Blomes1212 says, it wasn't until after you did your commercial pilot license and instrument rating that you got your night. Holy cow, Blomes. So you're telling me that the instrument rating actually doesn't cover night rating in New Zealand. Wow, boy, I gotta tell you, it's super interesting for sure, learning how different things are in your part of the, in other parts of the world. It just sounds like other parts of the world aren't as GA friendly for sure as it is here in the States. 1 second, there's Mike. There we go. Okay, just kind of brought back the sim time a little bit so that we have a bit more daylight here. That's why the screen went black there for a second.
Because we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
A bit more Simpsons there. Blooms is saying, sorry you misspoke, the IR does require a night rating. You did CPL, then night, then instrument rating. Gotcha, Blooms. Okay, that makes sense. But wow, that's kind of super interesting that you did your commercial pilot license before you got your instrument rating. Because typically that's the other way around here, right? Typically most people get their IR and then they get their CPL. But that's super interesting for sure.
Seeing traffic, New Zealand 601 short front runway 03 Dunedin.
Let's see, what else did I miss here? Hazaru, no, it's not so ridiculous having a night rating, right? So here in the US, you do have a sport pilot license as well. That's kind of a relatively new thing that got introduced in the past 10 years or so. So sport pilot rating, essentially, that only allows you to fly in the daytime, and I think it's a bit more restrictive in terms of, passengers and things like that as well. But a sport pilot rating does not allow you to fly at night. If you want to fly at night with a sport pilot rating, I think you have to upgrade to PPL, which allows you to fly at night. But I gotta tell you, I'm so glad I don't have to, I've never had to do a night rating, right? Because night VFR flying is one of my absolute favorite things to do. There's nothing more amazing than flying on a clear night, with the moon, and some stars obviously twinkling in the sky, and as well you got a whole bunch of city lights, especially in a built-up urban area below you. Just nothing more beautiful than that. And the other thing about night flying that's so amazing is, at nighttime everything goes calm, right? The thermals die. There's very, very little turbulence typically, so it's so smooth flying at night. Just absolutely amazing. But wow, look at the scenery, right? It's beautiful. You got the mountain back there. This is a beautiful part of the world for sure. Let's see how Micah does here. Looks like he did really well, actually. That was a super nice landing there, Micah. That's intended for Micah.
Hey, that's pretty good.
There you go. It's intended for Micah, of course. F900EX, welcome on board. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Blomes is saying night VFR cross country scares the hell out of you, mostly since you don't have much in the way of lighting group cities. Yeah, totally there, Blomes. I can imagine. I got, so I did my night, my PPL.
Hold your applause. Thank you.
back when I was in, you know, in college in the Midwest about 15 years ago. You know, night VFR in the Midwest was super interesting for sure, especially the cross countries, right? Because, you know, obviously there's not a whole lot of street lighting on county roads in the Midwest. You know, it's basically nothing but cornfields and things like that. Love that sound effect. But it's kind of a similar situation, right? It's really, really dark. There's not a whole lot of sea around you, except for occasional pinpricks of light and things like that from some of the farmhouses. But yeah, I can totally understand that point of view. F900EX says you flew one of these into Marana not too long ago. Owen Heaton, welcome on board. Hope you're doing well. Owen says you're about to say night flying where you are is super scary. Yeah, totally. Owen, where are you from, out of curiosity? Maybe I missed it. Maybe you mentioned it earlier. Let's see, what else did I miss in chat here? So, say goodbye to Micah, folks. What I'm going to do here is hop into some replays and hop off WATSIM as well. But Micah, thanks for flying along with us. Always nice to have people fly along. Micah, for those of you who don't know, is also a streamer on Twitch. Just search for Micah Vabora, 2 words. Same username as he has in chat on Twitch, and Micah has a Twitch channel as well. So make sure to give him a follow on Twitch. He's a good streamer, and I'm trying to motivate him to get back into streaming as quickly as possible. But give Micah a follow on Twitch, and also urge him, in order to build his audience, to keep the swearing to a minimum. so I think that will help him grow an audience a bit more. I suspect. But I don't know.
Until the A300 comes out.
There you go. So Micah's going to wait until the Inabil's A300 comes out, which is going to be a ton of fun to watch Micah stream that. So anyway, there is Micah coming into park. Let's say goodbye to him, and we'll check out some replays, and we'll figure out what our game plan is for the last, you know, quarter of this stream. Whether we're going to do some flying in Milford Sound or a little bit of soaring back in Condor along the ridges. Okay, let's bring it back here a ways, and we'll see how that landing went. Okay, all right. And while this is going on, here's what I'm going to do. Actually, we'll look at it from this perspective. The sun lights up the aircraft from this view. So there we go. Okay, let me go into my CloudBot here, and I'm going to start a poll. And so what flight do we want to do next? And let me go ahead and add some options here. So option Milford Sound. Oops, hold on. Piper Cub in Milford Sound. That's option 1, and it's M, right? There we go. Actually, just do Milford. Okay, there we go. And hold on. There we go. That works. And option 2 is ridge soaring in Condor. Okay. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start a poll here. Duration of the poll is 3 minutes. And what you want to do is you want to put !vote Milford for a Piper Cub flight in Milford Sound, or !vote glider for a ridge soaring flight in Condor Soaring Simulator. So the poll hasn't started yet. I'm going to start it right now. So let's go ahead and start this poll, and you can vote. So !vote Milford for a Piper Cub flight in Milford Sound. Ooh, really nice soft touchdown there. Or !vote glider for a glider flight in Condor. So those are the 2 options. Hopefully the poll has started, by the way. Yes, there we go. I'm going to vote myself as well, by the way. So. All right, once again, is !vote Milford for, and by the way, disregard what me and the mods are voting for. This is a complete audience choice, right, poll. So whatever the audience pick is the one I'm going with. So feel free to vote. Don't worry what we're voting for. whatever you feel like voting for, you're more than welcome to put in your vote. Xanax, you want to put in exclamation mark vote glider. Make sure you put in exclamation mark vote, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, let's do a replay of from the tower view. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause all the replays here for a second because I want to give you all a chance to vote. Okay, so there you go. And I'm going to catch up on chat while this is going on, because I know I missed a ton earlier. Let's see. GNEA, I think I caught you earlier, right? So welcome, welcome, welcome for sure. Hazru was saying earlier, you know the one with the little glass screen thingy, you don't fly Airbus too much. Oh, that's the radio system, right? Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'll talk about that in a second. Ooh, boy, it sure is nice when you get a nice soft buttery touchdown like that. Although, I'm going to be honest, in real life, that is not the safest of landings, right? In real life, you want to plant the airplane a bit more firmly than I did, because you can end up with a little bit of a shimmy, right? If the mains aren't planted down firmly. So you want to plant it a bit more firmly than I did in real life, obviously. But as flight sim, us flight simmers are super obsessed with landing rates
while I whip this
and things like that. So, there you go. That works. Let me. Oh my God, I forgot to stop Sim Toolkit Pro here. Let me do that real quick. Let me go ahead and stop Sim Toolkit Pro here. Just gonna go ahead and close that off. Okay, there we go. All right. And should we check out some wing views? Absolutely, right? Let's check out some wing views here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this back just a little bit. By the way, Loakstar, when do you want to do the shared cockpit flight for practice, off-stream, obviously, in the Q400? Do you have some time tomorrow evening, do you think? You're on East Coast time, right, Loakstar? So actually, let's talk on Discord about this. But Loakstar, if tomorrow works for you, just let me know in general if tomorrow evening might work, and I'll send you some potential times that might work for me as well. That hopefully aren't too late for you. But I'll try not to make it too late for you East Coast time as well. But it'll be really fun, Loakstar, to do a little shared cockpit flight in the Q400 with you for sure. I'm thinking we'll do 2 legs. That way, both of us can try. One of us can try pilot not flying on the first leg, and then on the second leg we can switch roles. So that's why I'm thinking of 2 quick legs, like Seattle to PDX and back. Boy, love this view. There we go, touchdown. PTU starting to act up there. Don't know why. All right, let's do another one here. I wanted to do the view from this side. Okay, so let's check this out here real quick. All right, the poll is complete. Let's see. Sorry there, F900EX, but for some reason Streamlabs deleted the message, but F900EX was saying 79,690.51, accurate to ascent there, and he was addressing that to Bloams212. F900EX, where in the country are you located, out of curiosity? That sounds pretty high. That sounds way higher than I would think it is. One second, let me just quickly roll back my clock here just a little bit so we have a bit more daylight as we watch a final replay here. But let's see, what was the winning vote here? Okay, so obviously Milford Sound won resoundingly with 8 votes to 2. So unfortunately we're not going to do a glider flight today, but Hazaru, I promise we're going to do some glider flights in the future. So we'll do Milford Sound today though. So we'll do some Milford Sound flying in the J3 Cup. Okay, fantastic. Okay, that worked out nicely actually. Just slightly off center line there, but not too bad at all. All right, one final replay here, just one final replay, and then we'll call it an evening. 1 second, let me get the view just right here. So what I've got to do to load up a flight in Milford Sound, by the way, I've got to shut down P3D and start it up again, because if I load up the J3 Cub directly, P3D is going to crash, and it's just going to take longer. So I'm going to shut down P3D, load it up again. Whole process should take us about 10 minutes, but that's fine, no big deal. For those of you that want to hang out and watch a fun GA flight in Milford Sound, you're more than welcome to. If you want to fly along on VATSIM, by the way, you're more than welcome to as well. So let me know if you want to do a flight on VATSIM, a group flight in Milford Sound. I am not too familiar with VFR, you know, the rules of the road in New Zealand, by the way, for VFR flying. But we do have Blomes1212 on board today, if he's willing to hang out a bit longer, who can probably talk us through that. So we'll do a little bit of that right after this final replay. Lokestar, absolutely. I love the sound effects. FSLabs makes some of the best sounds. Whew, wow. Oh boy, sometimes I impress myself. That worked out quite nicely, actually. Oh boy. That worked out really nicely. We gotta do...
No soup for you!
No soup for you. There we go. Okay. There you go, Blomes. Absolutely. Always nice to have local pilots on when we fly in different parts of the world, for sure. All right, folks. That's going to be it for Dunedin. Thank you to those of you that informed me how to pronounce the name of the place that we flew into today. Beautiful part of the world once again. This is a fantastic scenery, by the way, from Godzone. Let's just very quickly, 1 second here. Very quickly take a look into the terminal here, because the interior is actually modeled just a little bit. There we go. It's a little easier to see when it's light out, obviously, but the interior is modeled, and of course you got photorail scenery coverage for the entire area, just like with other Godzone's other sceneries. If you haven't heard of this developer for P3D, check it out. It's Godzone, G-O-D-Z-O-N-E. Fantastic developer. It's a one-man operation, but boy, I gotta tell you, he does some amazing work. Dunedin, there we go. All right, say goodbye, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to our Be Right Back screen, and we'll shut down P3D. Give me 1 second here. Okay, switch to that screen. Just gonna shut down P3D here, and we're gonna reload P3D, and we'll do a quick flight in the Piper Cub in Milford Sound. So that's gonna be our plan. November Zulu Mike Foxtrot. Okay, that makes sense there. That's the identifier for Milford Sound, right? Awesome. There you go, Blomes. So we'll actually test your knowledge a little bit, right? That's what we'll plan on doing. There we go. Let's see, what else did I miss here? Hazaru says the PT used to scare the heck out of you before you knew what it was. Yeah, there you go. It's a super interesting sound for sure, right? It sounds like an angry barking dog for sure. NCMF, there we go. Actually, the conditions at Milford Sound aren't exactly conducive for VFR flying right now. It's light rain, ceiling's broken at 2000. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the weather at Milford Sound. Either that or just stay well below the ceilings, right? So that's another option. But it's not really conducive for VFR flying a whole lot. One thing I want to do actually, while P3D is loading back up here, I just restarted P3D rather. While P3D is loading up here, I promised you folks something in our last stream. I promised to show you a trailer for this glider flying documentary on PBS, right? So let me bring that up here real quick. 1 second. Cloud Street HD. There we go. Okay, just going to pull this up here real quick. So we did a stream focused on glider flying in Condor on Sunday, and I wanted to pull up a quick trailer for that that I think had some awesome footage that you folks are sure to like. So let me pull that up here real quick, and we'll take a look at that because it's going to take about 5 minutes for prepare to load anyway. So while that's going on, we might as well check this out. So here we go. Let me go ahead and pull up my Chrome window. Hopefully that works. And let's check out this trailer. This is a super awesome trailer. So the movie that I'm talking about, it's a movie called Cloud Street Soaring the American West, produced by PBS New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just one of the most fantastically shot documentaries, flying documentaries ever made. Just so spectacular. And the footage is just stunning. You're going to see in this video. Okay, let's play this here, and I'm going to go quiet while this is playing. Ago now. It's actually quite a bit old, and I was right. It is PBS New Mexico that created this documentary, but it's an amazing documentary. It's available for rent on iTunes. It's available to buy on iTunes. If you're a fan of videos, documentaries, with an interesting take on flying, I think this is worth buying. I own it on iTunes. It's just absolutely stunning. So this is the video, or documentary rather, that I mentioned during our Condor stream a few days ago. Okay, let's go back to the Be Right Back screen there. P3D just loaded up, so I'm gonna now actually put in the or set up the flight here. So give me 1 second while I do that, or give me a couple of minutes while I do that. Boki, hello to you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hazaru, that's what I was explaining, right? That's what you were seeing. Adam Barzak, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Owen Heaton says you fly in the Grand Tetons. I'm super jealous there, Owen. That is fantastic. What do you fly out there, out of curiosity? Are you a glider pilot out there, or are you a powered airplane pilot out there? Let's see. I want to pick. Just trying to pick an airplane to fly here. Do we want to do a cup on straight floats? No, right? Obviously, because Milford Sound is a paved runway. Okay, we'll just do the typical, yellow and black lightning bolt, with a lightning bolt Piper Cub on regular wheels. Actually, you know what? Hold on 1 second. Let's do Tundra tires today. Because we didn't do Tundra tires when we flew the J3 Cub at Oshkosh a couple of weeks ago. So let me very quickly switch to that one. I don't know if we have the one with Tundra tires, actually. But let's see. I think we do. Yes, we do, actually. So let's do Tundra tires. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Tundra tires it is. Tundra tires on a paved runway, by the way. Not the best idea in the world, but we'll do it anyway. Because Tundra tires have far too much grip, right? So anyway, that's what we're going to fly today. And I'll set the time here to early in the morning. Not early in the morning, rather, but close to midday, actually. That way, we have a lot more light out. Alright, let's go ahead and load up the sim here, and that's going to take about 2 to 3 minutes. When that's done, we'll hop back into prepared, and we'll continue. Hazaru, I did not have a Discord server. I have, I have no plans on getting one anytime soon. You got to realize, right? I have a relatively small channel. My streams have a relatively small audience, and I kind of like it that way because it helps me engage with the people that come into my streams a bit more. There's some streamers, obviously they have a different. Streamers do things for different reasons, right? Or streamers stream for different reasons, rather. For me, I'd rather, I don't mind more people watching. The more, the merrier, obviously. But, sometimes, when that happens, I think your priorities get skewed. Your relation to the audience gets skewed a little bit, and if that works for different people, obviously that for other people that works for them. More power to them. But for me, I kind of like having a smaller channel, smaller streams personally, and so Discord is just not something. Starting a Discord server is just not something that I've seen any real value in personally. I do have a Discord account, but I don't have a Discord channel or server. Never really had an interest in getting one. Or never really saw the value in getting one, I guess. Okay. Alright, just loaded up here. You can hear the sounds of the birds and the bees. Let's go ahead and load up P3D in here. Alright, here we are in a rainy, cloudy Milford Sound. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting for sure. We got them tender tires there. That is going to make for some interesting takeoff rolls. And for some interesting ground handling on this airplane, obviously. Lots and lots of grip on those big Tundra tires. They're really, really made for the bush. But anyway, that's what we're going to fly today. Let's go ahead and get rid of the tie-downs here. There we go. And actually, we can get rid of the controls lock in the airplane. So let's get rid of the controls lock here. Oh, I can't just click on it? Okay, never mind. I guess I have to do it in here. Okay, and by the way, during our stream in Oshkosh in the J3 Cub, right, somebody was asking, how do I reach the controls in the front? I don't, because this airplane obviously is soloed from the back. Lokestar, I think it was you. There's actually dual controls. So there's a dual throttle setup and a dual control stick setup. So there's a control stick and a throttle for the back seat, and the same for the front seat as well. That is how you fly this solo from the back seat. So that's the story there. Let me very quickly reset my views here just a little bit because I didn't like the zoom there. Okay, that's better. That's a ton better. Okay, let me catch up on chat. No problem there, Boki. No problem at all. All good. Micah, yes, absolutely. The J3, if you solo the J3 Cub is soloed from the back seat. And that's due to weight and balance restrictions. Or weight and balance requirements, rather. The Super Cub that I got my tailwheel endorsement in, that can be soloed from the front seat, no problem, because that doesn't have that weight and balance issue. But the J3 Cub has to be soloed from the back seat. Okay, let me hop onto. Is anybody flying with me on VATSIM at Milford Sound? By the way, what I'm going to do is get rid of the weather. So like Blom said earlier, we're just going to do standard weather here at Milford Sound because there's no way I'm going to be flying in the rain and with high winds and things like that, and with low ceiling. Whoops, had a critical error there with active sky, but that works out just fine because we're going to be flying using a weather preset anyway. So let me very quickly do a weather preset here. I'm going to do the fair weather preset. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay, fair weather preset set. Just a few clouds here and there, but this is super pretty for sure. This is good. This is a beautiful location to be flying in. Alright, let's go ahead and start this bad boy up. Let me know if... Oh, Lokestar says you fly this exact aircraft in real life. Lokestar, no, not the J3 Cub. I fly the Super Cub and the SABDA in real life. So those are the airplanes that I fly. I've never flown the J3 Cub in real life. This is the granddaddy of the Cub family of aircraft, right? This is the oldest Cub in actually, not really. There was the J2 from way back when, but the J3 is really considered the start of the Cub family of aircraft. So This aircraft came out in 1938, if I'm not mistaken. That's when the first J3 Cub was made. And it's been, it started out as this amazing training aircraft that when World War II started, obviously it became the primary training aircraft for a lot of pilots that flew in World War II. And then, when the GIs came back from the war, this became a really affordable plane to buy and learn to fly in. And then there were a whole bunch of variants, aircraft that were modeled on the J3 Cub's frame, like the Super Cub, that had much higher horsepower, a different construction, but were better in a lot of ways than the original J3. But this was the granddaddy of them all, and I really, really wish I could fly this aircraft in real life, but it's super hard to get into one of these airplanes, because it's considered, these are treasures, right? It's so rare to fly in airplanes like this in real life that you can get some time in. If you've ever, by the way, there's a book that I strongly recommend checking out from Rinker Buck. If you like books on aviation, this is a must-read. I'm not sure why there's still rain falling apparently on our windshield here, but it's a book by Rinker Buck called. Oh boy, I gotta look this up. But it's one of my... I can't believe it's not coming to mind right now. I'm just gonna look this up here real quick. Flight of Passage. Flight of Passage by Rinker Buck. Amazing book. Rinker Buck was 16 years old, I think, when he and his brother, his dad was a pilot, and they learned to fly at a very, very young age. So when he and his... This was way, way back when, right? When it wasn't as restricted to fly as a kid or as a young man in the States, way back in the 50s and 60s, I think. But he and his younger brother, they flew cross-country across the United States, all the way to California from the East Coast of the United States, I think. And the book Flight of Passage is just an amazing look at their adventures in a tiny little J3 Cub as they flew all the way across the United States. And it's a really nice travel book, right? Because they document visiting these little airports sprinkled all over the country, and they talk through, all the characters and personalities they get to meet, right? This is an amazing book. Look it up, Flight of Passage by Rinker Buck. Amazing book. Okay, all right, I'm going to go ahead and Nicholas Gok, absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us from Delaware, the great state of Delaware there. You have a great night, Nicholas. We'll catch you next time. All right, let's see. Micah says you're flying along with us. Okay, well, I can hop on VATSIM in that case, Micah. Let me hop on VPilot here just real quick. And I don't know if I can get the radio to work. Obviously, the Piper Cub doesn't have an electrical system in real life, so I don't know if I can get the electrical, if I can get the radio to work. I think there's a way to do it, but I've got to figure that out. Okay, Piper J3 Cub. I'm just going to connect right now. Awesome, I'm connected. Okay, and the radio is there. It is. Okay, so I can turn on this radio here. There we go. So I just need to tune in 122.8. So there's a little, transceiver, like a handheld here. So that's what I can use, because it doesn't have an inbuilt system in the Cub, because there's no electrical system. So 122.8. Okay, just going to tune that in. That way we have that. Going to hide that away. All right, let's go ahead and start up the airplane here. This is such a simple airplane to start up and everything. So I'm just going to make sure, first of all, the fuel is on. Make sure that the mixture is all the way in. And then we'll just give the airplane about 3 shots of prime there. 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's give it 4 shots. It's a bit of a cooler day here. All right, let's lock the primer. And let's make sure the carb heat is off, and throttle is cracked slightly. Let's get the mags on. Okay, mags on both, and here's what we're going to do next. We're going to lean out of the airplane, and we're going to step on the brakes. By the way, forgot to mention this during our last stream featuring J3 Cub, but this is true with the Super Cub as well that I learned to fly tailwheel in. You may notice that there's not your typical heel brakes, right? There aren't your typical toe brakes on a Cub. What you have are heel brakes. So the rudder pedals are up here, and the rudder pedals are completely separate from the heel brakes. So in order to work the brakes on a Cub or a Super Cub, you actually have to get your heels onto the brakes, which is super interesting and weird. When you first learn to fly the Super Cub or the Cub, boy, that takes some getting used to. Not having toe brakes and having heel brakes like that. So interesting little bit of trivia there concerning the Cub. Blomes is saying this is your first time here and the interaction has you hooked the whole time. Love the vibe here. Absolutely there, Blomes. I like to keep the vibe that way as well, so I'm glad you enjoy it. That's exactly what I'm going for, so I'm glad you enjoy it. Owen was saying your good old 172N or 172XP. That's what you fly there, Owen. Awesome. That's super cool. That's super cool. All right, let's go ahead and start up this aircraft here. So, no electrical system. So how do you start up an airplane without an electrical system? Well, you've had these good old magnetos up here, right? The magneto system, for those of you who know anything about systems on a small airplane, is completely separate from the electrical system. So once you get the engine started up, the mags are all you need to keep the spark plugs going and keep the engine running. So in order to start the engine on an aircraft without an electrical system like a Cub, what I'm going to do is, first of all, as a tailwheel airplane, I'm going to go with the stick full back, I'm going to hold the brakes, and then I'm going to lean out the airplane or have a friend do this for me. Typically that's better. And we're going to hand prop the airplane. So we're going to do this. There we go. Start it on the first try. How about that? Now that's something you got to be super careful about doing in real life, by the way, because you can very easily chop your own arm off if you don't do that right. But we started the airplane up just fine there, so that's fantastic. Okay, and let's trim slightly nose forward there. There we go. Okay, and we'll start taxiing. I'm not sure why the windshield is still showing those effects there. But anyway, one thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to advance the clock just a little bit here. Just because it's still a little bit dark out. Okay, that's better, right? That's a lot better. So now you can see a lot better. So advance the time about 40 minutes there. Okay, let's take a look at around us. Where is Micah here? Because Micah's flying along. Micah, what airplane are you flying out of curiosity? Oh boy, you gotta love model matching in P3D, because Micah is showing up as the CRJ with its tail in the ground. That's kind of interesting, but hey, there you go, right? And of course, we need this command for Micah.
That's totally inappropriate. It's lewd, lascivious, salacious, outrageous.
Perfect. Look-star with the sound command of the day. That's perfect. Micah, what are you flying out of curiosity? Are you flying a J3 Cub as well? Hazaru says then there were the Cub Crafters. Absolutely, Hazaru. Cub Crafters is doing a great job of continuing the tradition of making some great variants of the Cub for sure. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take off. We're just gonna fly around Milford Sound, have some fun. And winds are calm, the fair weather preset here in P3D. So we're just going to head down to the runway here, line up, and we'll take off. And that's what we'll do. Let me just very quickly stop here because I want to do something real quick. Just wanted to check on what the runways are. So we've got a runway 11 and a runway 29. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take off. I'm going to take off from midfield here on runway. Yeah, you know what? We'll backtrack. We'll just do things the normal way. So we'll backtrack on runway 11. Milford Sound traffic. Piper 1, Cub 1 Desert Juliet rather. Backtracking runway 11 Milford Sound. So let's do that. There you go, Blomes, totally. Can't wait to see the CRJ do this. I can't either. Obviously that's not what Micah's flying, but it's kind of funny how model matching works, right? So that's super interesting for sure. Boy, why are those windshield effects still there? I don't know what's going on. I might have to reload the airplane. I'm not sure. You got those rain effects there that I'm not sure why they're showing up. Anyway, we're just going to ignore that, right? We're just going to ignore that. All right. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet, lining up 1-1 for about a 1-minute run up, and we'll be departing shortly. Milford Sound. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold here momentarily while I do a quick run up. So stick full back, hold the brakes. Let's bring the prop up to about 1500 RPM there. And let's just check on the mags here real quick. Okay, right mag, back to boat, left mag, whoops. Left mag, back to boat. Engine still running just fine. Okay, where are the mixture controls here? They're somewhere around here, right? Maybe there's no mixture control. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and line up and we'll get going here. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet taking off from a 1-1. We'll be flying around the area here within the vicinity of the airport, Milford Sound. That's not a standard radio call, but hey, what can you do? I wasn't quite sure how to announce my intentions there. And it's just me and Micah, so I think Micah knows I'm just going to fly around and have some fun. Okay, going to bring the nose down there, tail wheel up, and once we're at a sufficient airspeed, we're going to get the airplane lifted off the ground there, and we'll do some flying around Milford Sound.
Aren't showing up for you, so I'm just going to try and look at your stream and reference where you are and hope for the best.
That works. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn to the right here. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet, right turn out to the west, Milford Sound. All right, so we'll fly to the west here, and we'll check out some of the beautiful sights around Milford Sound and just have some fun. So one of the nice things about the Cub, obviously, is you can fly low and slow.
Cub 18 Papa is backtrack over May 11 Milford Sound.
And Micah is indeed flying a Cub, so there you go. But wow, this is a beautiful scenery, ain't it? Look at this, just spectacular. So let's head over to that terrain over there, that spectacular terrain over to the west there. So we'll just do some flying for about 15 minutes or so. God, I wish that model matching in P3D was a bit better than what we have right now, because I can't believe it gave us a CRJ. Actually, you know what? I'm going to fly some orbits around the airport, or close to the airport. That way Micah can hopefully hook up with us. So Micah, if you can hear that, I'm just going to fly slightly to the southwest of the airfield here, and just fly some orbits. That way you can hook up with us, and if you want to fly formation, you're more than welcome to. Famous last words, right? Famous last words. If you want to fly formation, you're more than welcome to. That's how every formation flying disaster happened. Bloom's Troll was asking, any plans to do any FS 2020 multi? Absolutely, Blooms. That is my plan. So as soon as the Microsoft Flight Simulator comes out, and by the way, I wanted to run this by folks in stream, and especially my mods, I am planning on doing a series of videos focused on helping folks who are new to flight simming get familiar with the rules of the road in regard to VFR flying, especially in the States. And the reason I thought it'd be good to do that is because, you know, as you may be aware, VATSIM is going to be available for Microsoft Flight Sim right out of the box. That's my understanding. It's compatible with Microsoft Flight Sim right out of the box. And so we're going to get a lot of new pilots, you know, who are completely unfamiliar with VFR flying, who are going to be flying on VATSIM. And I figured it'd be useful to have videos that kind of introduce pilots, you know, new pilots on VATSIM to VFR flying, and things that you're not always, introduced to as a simmer, which are things like cloud clearances, you know, communication requirements, equipment requirements like transponders, regulations, different types of airspace, and more importantly, how to communicate, right? When to communicate, how to make sure you're not either under-communicating or over-communicating when you're transmitting on the radio. So I thought it'd be good to have, you know, maybe a series of videos from the perspective of a real-world, GA pilot that kind of introduces new simmers to those aspects of simming. So that was my thought, actually. And of course, as part of that, there, Blooms, I'm definitely going to be doing, you know, a lot of streams as well, featuring a lot more VFR flying in the new flight simulator, and we'll certainly do some multiplayer flying for sure as part of that. Absolutely. In fact, you know, when the new flight simulator comes out, my plan is to do a series of VFR streams going out British Columbia to Alaska and doing some bush flying up in the Alaskan bush, and as well doing some VFR flying in some other parts of the world like Papua New Guinea, South America, and as well New Zealand for sure. So definitely we're going to be doing a lot more VFR flying to take advantage of the awesome streaming photorail scenery that we're going to have in the new flight simulator. Okay, so we'll head over to the terrain there. What happened to Micah? I'm not sure. He's around here somewhere, right? There he is. 3818 Papa. Not quite sure what happened to him. Oh, there he is. I see him. He's behind us going, pointing towards the east, it looks like. Okay. Hazru, it's not a CRJ. It's, yeah, exactly like Lokestar said. Hazru, you're more than welcome to. You're more than welcome to do some multiplayer flying for sure. Bloom said if you want to do any flying in New Zealand, you'd be happy to give us a little... Absolutely, Blooms. We'll certainly hit you up on that. I would love to do that. We'll start in your neck of the woods. We'll start in Nelson, and we'll take your recommendations on that. It's always nice to have folks that are locals, that are familiar with these parts of the world, that are willing to give us some tours for sure. Hazru says I should do some VFR in the Scottish Highlands and the Shetland Isles. Absolutely. Although, Hazru, I gotta ask, when is it ever VFR there? I'm being sarcastic, of course. You know, we had David Dempster on Sunday, right? And David Dempster likes a joke, because he's from Scotland, that whenever you get visitors in Scotland, right, the tourists come, whenever the tourists come to Scotland, that's when the weather turns bad, right? So, but you know, I've actually done a little bit of flying around Loch Ness in the beta, and I've absolutely loved it. It looks spectacular. So this is the problem, right? We're not spoiled for choice. Now that we have photorail scenery coverage with this AI generating some really accurate, you know, looking autogen all over the planet, we're not going to be, you know, we're going to be spoiled for choice, right? In terms of all the options that we have available to us for VFR flying. So, oh boy, I'm kind of, you know, it's going to be interesting for sure, right? Where do you start? You know, how do you make decisions on where to fly? But we'll do the best we can. You know, what I'm going to do is probably do a lot more polls and things like that, right? So I'll try to tailor some of the VFR flying in the streams to the audience that we have and things like that. And of course, you know, I'll be making some, you know, personal editorial decisions on which destinations to feature based on input that we get from fantastic folks like Bloom's 12, who obviously fly in this part of the world. So I certainly will do that. Alright, so what am I doing right now? I'm just flying through this valley here, and we'll continue down to the end of the valley and then we'll turn around, by the way. So that's my plan.
You're just going to be flying through the canyon?
Yeah, I'm going to fly through this canyon to the end of the canyon, and then I'm going to turn around and come back. And it looks like we had a donation just now. Blooms 1212 with another $5 New Zealand donation. Blooms, thank you so much.
Okay.
Bloom says you got to head off now. Thank you for the brilliant stream. You'll definitely be returning. Awesome, Blooms. Well, hey, Blooms, it was fantastic having you on. As I like to say, it's always nice having locals who do some real-world flying in these beautiful parts of the world actually provide us some thoughts and input when we fly here. So you are more than welcome to come back and hang out with us anytime. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I look forward, hopefully, to catching you again soon, Blooms. Thank you so much, and thanks for the donation. Those are not required at all, but hey, it's all, anything that's donated to the channel just goes towards trying to improve the channel, add-ons and things like that. So thank you so much, and much appreciated. And you have a great one. We'll catch you next time. Let's see, what else did I miss here in chat? There were a whole bunch of lulls earlier. There were a whole bunch of lulls earlier in regard to the model matching, right? Actually, you know what? Let's continue down this canyon. Famous last words, right? Let's continue down this canyon and see where it takes us. It's flight sim, right? So we can adventure a little bit. We can have some fun. And this is some spectacular scenery. So, you know, my suspicion is if I'm not mistaken, this turns back into Milford Sound going the other way, right? Let's very quickly do a top-down view here. No, it doesn't. No. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to head down to the lake at the end of the canyon, and then we're going to turn around and come back. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to head down to the lake that's at the end of the canyon, and then we'll turn around and head back the other way. Micah, I don't think there is a parking brake in the J3 Cub. I missed that from earlier, but I don't think there is a parking brake in the Cub. That's right, I totally forgot about the PC-6 there, Lookstar. That's, we're going to do some flying in Papua New Guinea at some point in the near future, when I can schedule a stream, and we'll take the Milvis PC-6 borer out for that one for sure. Okay, you know what? I probably should start turning back here. So I'm going to go into slow flight here. That way I can make a tightest turn as possible in this canyon going back the other way. So that's what I'm going to do. So just going to slow down here. Go as close to the wall of the canyon as I feel comfortable. And then we'll turn back. These are turns that are really, really challenging in real life, by the way. But that worked out okay. So we're just going to head back down the canyon the other way, and we'll head back into Milford Sound. All right. And I missed Boki saying he was off to work earlier, but Boki, I hope you have a great work day if you're watching the VOD of the stream later. Yeah, the rain license discussion earlier. Holy cow, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. The rules and restrictions that they have in other parts of the world. You know, I think it's just nuts. Holy cow, a rain license, a night rating. Boy, it's nuts. It's crazy for sure. I'm not quite sure where Micah ended up. I don't think Micah followed us into the canyon. He's still around, but I don't think he followed us into the canyon.
I couldn't follow you in the canyon. I'm coming back around the airport. It's just some circuits, I guess.
Okay, gotcha. No worries. All good. Just going back through chat here to see if I missed anything. Blomes earlier, I missed this, was saying from student pilot to instructor in New Zealand costs about 120 grand. Holy cow, I missed that earlier. That is nuts there, Blomes. And let's see, what else did I miss here? Hazru, thank you so much for the £5 donation. Thanks, Hazru. Really do appreciate it. Hazru says we definitely should do tours of each other's neck of the woods. I would love to see some of the U.S. as I rarely fly there. Absolutely, we will, Hazru. Hazru, if I remember correctly, are you from the south of England? I think that's where you're from, right? If I'm not mistaken. We'll certainly do some flying in the south of England for sure. You know, I think Will Dewey, one of her mods, who also flies in that part of the world, would love to see that as well. So we'll definitely do a little bit of that. We'll trade. We'll do some VFR flying in the bush in Alaska and the western United States, and we'll do some VFR flying in your neck of the woods as well for sure. Boy, there's so many options for sure, aren't there? I can't wait to see this in the flights in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator. Boy, can you even imagine what this looks like, right? Oh boy. It's going to be spectacular. I'm curious, what do folks in chat think of some of the new preview videos that are coming out, right? One of the things that irks me, by the way, and I don't mean to be too harsh on people here from the gaming press, right? Because you've noticed that some of the people from the gaming press who make videos in the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, boy, they don't know the first thing about flying airplanes, do they? I mean, they're I do like the professionalism with which they review the sim, and they provide information on the sim. I think that's something that is really, really well done by most of the gaming press. But when you watch videos from some of the major gaming publications, right, featuring the new flight simulator, boy, they don't know how to land an airplane. They don't know the first thing about landing an airplane. I forget, there was some major gaming publication, I think it was IGN, if I'm not mistaken. The person was landing at Las Vegas. It may or may not have been IGN. Don't quote me on that. But they were landing at Las Vegas, and they landed, in the grass, or not in the grass, but they didn't even land on a taxiway. They landed between a taxiway and a runway, and then they just taxied across a whole bunch of stuff to the terminal, and I was like, oh, holy cow. It's kind of scary, right? Because you're like, with VATSIM being included, being made compatible from day one, you're kind of scared now. What is it going to look like when a bunch of gamers who don't know the first thing about flight simming or flying start hopping on VATSIM, right? Are we going to see a whole bunch of these kinds of shenanigans, right? It's a little bit concerning. I'm just going to say that. Hazaru says you're down on the Isle of Wight. It's a small island, busy, has some spectacular views. That is awesome, Hazaru. You're the first person I've met who's from there, actually. I've heard of the Isle of Wight. I'm gonna have to look that up once I'm done with the stream here, but you're the first person I've met is from there. That's super cool. Oben Heaton says looks good, although it'll probably take a year to really get going. And you also get a little cranky with how some people try to fly. Yeah, totally. It's a little hard when you're a real-world pilot sometimes to check your irritation, right? You've got to be nice, especially when you're a streamer like myself. You've got to be nice, and you've got to be polite, and you've got to be accommodating of different experience levels. But holy cow, I am concerned. Why is Micah landing in the water? Micah just landed in the water. Is that Micah? I think it is. What is going on here?
I tried to skid my tires against the water, and then I flipped over.
Oh no! Oh no! Does X-Plane do that, by the way? Can you do the water skimming thing in X-Plane, or did that just not work because X-Plane doesn't allow that and registers that as a crash? Lokestar, no worries.
Some people do, but I'm not 100. I haven't tried it myself, so I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, in P3D, I know it registers that as a crash if the wheels touch water, unfortunately. Lokestar, no worries. We'll catch you later. By the way, Lokestar, please send me a message on Discord regarding whether or not you're able to do a shared cockpit flight in the Q400 tomorrow. And I'm sorry if I missed that message from you earlier, but if you have done that, that's great. If not, please do so. And hopefully, if not tomorrow, sometime either over the weekend or next week, we can both do a shared cockpit flight, because I'm really looking forward to doing that with you for sure there. But you have a great night, Lokestar. Thanks for hanging out with us super late over in the East Coast. We'll look forward to catch. Whoops. That's what happens when you're not paying attention to where you're flying. I was paying attention to chat there. 1 second. Oh boy, that was awful. That's what happens when you're paying so much attention to chat, you forget you're flying right next to mountains. I just went into slew mode there. Thankfully, I had crashes disabled, but that was about as bad as Mike. Actually, that was a lot worse than Micah's water skimming adventure there. But Lokestar, do send me a note on Discord if you have not, and we'll talk soon. You have a great night, bud. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Should we do another fun energy management exercise? Because this airplane can really float. So we might do another fun little energy management exercise from a lot higher altitude compared to the glider, obviously, before we land at Milford Sound. So let's do that here real quick. So let's see, what's a good direction for traffic at Milford Sound? I think we want to fly left traffic, so I'm just going to overfly the airport here. And we'll turn back and do a quick landing. Hazaru was saying, thank God for the P0 pilot rating on VATSIM. Yeah, there you go. The one thing I hope doesn't happen is that a bunch of people start streaming their adventures on VATSIM and fail to pay attention to what's going on around them like I did, right? Just now. Crash into terrain. Okay, so I'm going to fly left traffic to... we'll do a low pass over the runway and then enter downwind. So that's what we'll do. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet. We'll be making a low pass over runway 11, and then we'll be entering left traffic, runway 11, Milford Sound. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep the power up. And then I'll aim to do a low pass, cut the power. We'll do a low pass, trade off airspeed for altitude, and let's see if we can bring it back down without having to bring the power back in, like we did in our glider flight the other day. I don't think it's going to work, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go full power here. Let's do a low pass. Okay. I don't think this is going to work the way I want it to. Let's see if we can get it to work, though. Nope, not going to work. Obviously, the glide ratio on a Cub is not as good as that on the glider, so that's not going to work. Alright, no worries. We'll just do a standard pattern here. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet is on a left downwind, runway 11, Milford Sound, full stop. Okay, so we'll just make this full stop here. Owen Heaton was saying, oh god, it's going to be newbie galore, you're going to need to deploy the whole VATSIM supervisor. Oh my god, yeah, that's right. The VATSIM supervisors are going to have one hell of a task in their hands come August the 18th, right? It's going to be interesting. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet, left base, runway 11, full stop, Milford Sound.
And I just flew into a mountain.
I did that earlier. Milford Sound traffic, Cub 1 Delta Juliet, base to final, runway 11, Milford Sound, full stop. Okay, so we'll land here, we'll call this full stop. And we'll do a, actually, yeah, we'll do a wheel landing, actually. That's what we'll do. What happened to Micah there? Oh, I think he might have reloaded his sim or something. That's why he appeared to just... oh, actually, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on anymore. Let's go ahead and slip it in here. Slip it in. Oh boy, all kinds of interesting things going on here.
I'm just gonna flew on real approach.
There we go. Whoa! Not quite sure what's going on there. The view just kind of got all funky there for some reason. There we go. Okay, I don't know why that view went all funky there. For some reason, the view started looking straight up, but the landing worked out just fine, as we're going to see in the replay. The landing worked just fine. I'm not quite sure what happened. Captain India Foxtrot, welcome to you. Captain India Foxtrot says hello from the UK, 6:44 in the morning there. Awesome. Captain, thanks for hanging out with us today. Hope you're doing fantastic. And of course, Hazard, who just asked you that question, is also from the UK, by the way. He's from the Isle of Wight, which I've never met anyone from there before. So that was super cool. Boy, this scenery is spectacular. Although you got to feel bad for those poor folks on the line there, because they've been sweeping away for the past hour or so while we've been flying. Oh boy. Okay, let's check out Michael landing here. Or Nahum, hello to you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Okay. Captain IF says East Anglia. Awesome. East Anglia. Okay.
How did it with stall landing in this CRJ? Hold my beer.
Hold your beer. Oh boy. Hold your beer and you know, hey fellers, watch this. You know, are the famous last words, right, of every aviator. There's Mike. Okay, or there's Micah rather. Let's switch to that view. There we go. It's obviously not a CRJ. It's something else. But let's see how Micah does here. Yeah, she did okay. Not too bad at all. You did a full 3-point landing there, Micah. That's super cool.
Man, I suck at this tail dragger thing.
Ooh. By the way, tailwheel physics and X-Plane, Micah, are terrible, in my opinion. I'm not sure who makes the cup that you're using in X-Plane, but tailwheel physics and X-Plane are way, way, way too sensitive. You know, real life, it's not that sensitive. In real life, here's what you do when you're flying a tailwheel airplane. You know, here's what you do when you're operating on the ground. Gotcha. Okay, you're basically making, you watch the rudder pedals there super closely, right? You're basically making minor inputs to the rudder pedals, and you're doing that to keep yourself perfectly, you know, so that you're keeping the nose perfectly straight. You're making minor inputs. You're always getting in your wind corrections with your ailerons in real life when you're flying a tailwheel airplane. So if the wind is coming from, if it's a crosswind from the left there, I'm going to get, you know, left stick in there. Full back in the stick always, no matter whether it's a headwind or tailwind when you're on the ground. Full back stick always in a tailwheel airplane. Tailwheel airplanes, you're always very, 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 very familiar. You know, very, very aware of what the wind is doing and where it's coming from, and of how you're, you know, how much you're deviating, even if it's just a fraction of a degree from the direction you want the nose to be pointed in. You're always very, very aware of that in a tailwheel airplane. Osru says, are you winning soon when your child only ever plays flight sims? Yeah, there you go. Boy, I don't know. I'm kind of curious how this is going to go. Anyway, hey, Micah, thanks so much for flying along, buddy. This was super fun. It's a lot of fun flying into mountains, doing a little bit of water skimming. But hey, this is what flight simming is for. And I'm certainly looking forward to doing a lot more of this multiplayer type stuff when the new MFS comes out for sure. Okay, folks, let's do some replays here, and we're gonna call it an evening because it is getting a little bit late here. It's all coming up in about 11. Let's go roll back to right about there. Actually, let's check out the landing here real quick because the view got kind of funky. So I wanted to check out the landing here real quick. There we go. So this is a replay off the landing. It was actually a really nice landing. Those Tundra tires obviously are super springy, so you saw the bungee, the mechanism there. Why? What was going on there? Yeah, so something got a little funky. There might be a little bit of an artifact in the scenery or something, some kind of terrain issue, because the view kind of changed as well when we landed earlier. But that was a really nice landing, actually. I'm pretty pleased with that one. Those Tundra tires have a ton of grip, by the way, so it's really, really easy. If you get a little too much power in and you're not super careful about it, it's very, very easy to nose the airplane over and have a prop strike. But that worked out quite nicely, actually. Okay, so we're going to close some replays here, folks. I'm going to catch up on chat here before I get going. Or Nahum, we'll do another plane in a future stream. Possibly Sunday, possibly midweek next week. So I am going to stream again quite likely over the weekend, folks. As you know, my stream schedule is just completely dependent on you know, kind of, you know, my kind of schedule, which kind of varies. I don't have a set stream schedule, and also kind of my motivation and things that are going on around the house and things like that. So I'm hoping to stream once again either Saturday or Sunday. As I've said before, Sunday, this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday when we stream, it's quite likely going to be a fun little special event. I wanted to do kind of a send-off, because I'm not going to be doing a ton of streaming in P3D or X-Plane going forward when MSFS comes out. I'm going to be doing some streaming, but not a ton. So I wanted to do a bit of a send-off for Prepared and X-Plane, and my idea for send-off in X-Plane is actually a lot of fun. So whenever I've got a good idea for that, I'm not going to tell you right now, but I've got a great idea for send-off to X-Plane. So we're going to do a stream in X-Plane probably in the next couple of weeks. That'll be a lot of fun featuring this idea I have. But I did want to do sort of a send-off to Prepared as well. We're going to be continuing to do streams in Prepared, but I wanted to do a kind of a fun special event in Prepared. So we're trying to do that over this weekend, and that'll feature a flight in Antarctica. So we'll probably fly from Christchurch to Antarctica with a lot of time compression. We're not going to be streaming for 5 or 6 hours straight. We're going to have a time compression portion of that so that we can shorten the actual length of the stream. But we'll do a flight from Christchurch to McMurdo Station in Antarctica this weekend. So that's my plan. So hopefully I'll see some of you then. Gregory DeLong, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with us. Although we're we're finishing up. Micah, I have not. Thank God. I've never flipped a Super Cub or a tailwheel airplane or any airplane in my life. Thank God. Never come close. Never want to come close. I've come really, really close to a ground loop, as any tailwheel pilot has. But thankfully, I was able to get out of it. But that was a super scary situation in a tailwheel airplane once, where I came pretty close to a ground loop. But thankfully, nothing too extreme. So I'm grateful for that. Okay, folks, I am going to sign off here. Mohammed Ibrahim, welcome. But unfortunately, we're going to sign off here. This is going to be our replay here as we sign off. Let me pull up some replay music here. And we're going to call it an evening, folks. But hope to see you, some of you, on either Saturday or Sunday when I do a live stream featuring a flight to Antarctica in the PMDG 747. Let's see, what do I want to play here? Just looking through my playlist to figure out what I want to use. One second here. Oh boy. Sorry, my Windows Explorer was acting up here. Okay, let's pick that actually for now. That can work just fine. Okay, so we'll do a little bit more Burke for free, and we'll call it an evening here, folks. But thank you all for hanging out. It was super awesome. Hazaru, thank you so much for the super chat earlier. Blomes1212, if you watch the live stream later, thank you so much again for hanging out with us and sharing some thoughts on flying in New Zealand as a real-world pilot there. That was super cool. And all of you who hung out today, Captain Samafa, IF, Mohammed Ibrahim, Gregory Long, Micah for flying along, all of you fantastic folks who hung out today. This was super cool. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll catch you Saturday or Sunday. If not, hopefully we'll catch you another time in another video. Y'all take care. And as I bring in some playback music here, I'm gonna call it an evening here, folks. It's getting pretty late, but this was super fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I certainly did, and I look forward to catching you next time. Y'all take care. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy in these interesting times, and look forward to catching you next time. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.